Roy Morris, and I am Director of Citizen Engagement and Media Relations in the Prime Minister's Office, and I'm responsible for the organizing of these parish events. So far, every time I've spoken at one, I've had to say welcome when I am in fact a visitor like everyone else. On this occasion, however, when I say welcome, I'm joining you in welcoming you to my parish, which is in Andrew. Now, tonight is your night to speak. That's why it is called St. Andrew Speaks. Whatever your issues are, whatever your concerns are, whatever you may want to talk about in a positive way, we invite you to share. All we ask is that we be respectful of each other. You may not agree with everything the person next to you or the person who's at the mic says, but in good St. Andrew fashion, we will give everyone their chance to say it. We will be here until about 9:30, and I expect that you will say what you have to say. We know that there are issues in the parish, but this is not a constituency issue or constituency event. It is not a political event. It is about governance. It is about making sure that the persons who are your servants, both as MPs, as well as those who are senior public officers, and you will find a number of them here tonight from all aspects of the public service. They are here to answer you, not for political purposes, but to make sure that you get instant answers and, where possible, instant results. So without further ado, I will turn it over to your MP, and he will then introduce Prime Minister, if she needs one, and we will go from there. So the night is yours.
Good night to everyone. I also want to thank and welcome you to this St. Andrew Speak. This edition where we get to hear from you, our people, discuss some of the issues. Some I know are long-standing issues. Some I know have been going on for many years. And you've been complaining and crying out, and those complaints seemingly fell on deaf ears. But tonight you have the ear of your MP, and you have the ear of the Prime Minister of Barbados. Now, I know that most of you here over the past couple of weeks and months would have seen that a number of issues in St. Andrew have been addressed or are being addressed. St. Andrew is abuzz with activity because I'm working hard to ensure that whatever I can do in my capacity, I will do. Some are small things, but there are also the bigger things. And I know the bigger things, which speaks to the infrastructure, will be addressed here tonight. Every question as it relates to road infrastructure, which I know is a major concern for all of us in St. Andrew. We all suffer as a result of our decaying and deteriorating road infrastructure. We have persons on board who have the answers and who have the explanations that you all will be seeking tonight. So feel free to talk to me. Feel free to ask me any question. When I look around, I see a lot of faces I recognize. Feel free to talk to the Prime Minister, because we would answer you as best as we can. And we have on board the technical staff who will give you those technical answers where we cannot answer as MPs and as politicians. We have persons on board here tonight who would answer those questions for you. So I don't know if I have to introduce the Prime Minister. I think this lady requires no introduction. This is our Prime Minister. And from all accounts, she is the Caribbean's Prime Minister. Every place I've gone, even with her, I've heard her referred to as the Caribbean's Prime Minister. And you do not become the Caribbean's Prime Minister just like that. You have to show substance. You have to show a level of intelligence that allows you to shine above everybody else's. And that's what we have here in the Prime Minister. And she will speak to you tonight. She's taken the time to come here. Yesterday we would have had a rubbing shoulders session where we went into communities and we engaged with residents in those communities. And we have a good sense of some of the issues, some of the burning issues that impact these communities here in Belle Plaine. And some of the things that we have, the vision I have for St. Andrew, we will speak to that tonight. Because I believe that St. Andrew is poised to bring Barbados out of, let me put it like this. We are the epicenter of the recovery of this country's tourism product, the recovery of this country's economy. We have it here. Everything that this country needs to turn around tourism, we have it right here in St. Andrew. I'm going to speak to that tonight. And the Prime Minister will speak to it also. Because we have a unique product that we can package and share with Barbados and share with the world. And when we speak of the issues, we're going to speak of the gifts that we can offer to the people of St. Andrew, to the people of Barbados, and the people of the world. But tonight is your opportunity to talk to us. And I'm going to pass over the mic to anyone who wants to ask a question. Now is your time.
Good night, everyone. I want to invite the first person to come. I'm not going to give a long intro because I prefer to hear from you tonight. As Roy indicated, this is called St. Andrew Speaks because we intend to hear from you as much as possible and to meet your concerns and issues as we go forward. I must tell you that I hope that as we do more and more of these, that there is a culture in Barbados that I want to break. And it is also symptomatic of our ability to reach up and to reach out and to do so aggressively. Every time I come into a room, every time we go into a room in this country, Bajans naturally go for which seat? Middle or back? And it is about time that we start to encourage a culture where people come up front and stand up and be counted. And I want that because that's symbolic of what we need to do as a country and what we need to do as communities and families. Not to be out of order, not to do anything, but just simply to be confident in taking it. So I have the middle of the room full and front seats. So whoever wants to come and take front seats, feel free to do that while we start the conversation going. Who's first, please? Let's open the baton.
I'm going to start the ball rolling. My name is Natalie, and I'm from Chalky Mount in St. Andrew. And I'm excited to be here tonight because I know that we have a Prime Minister that face it and fix it. She's not about long talk. So I know we will get results in St. Andrew. And I can safely say that our parliamentary representative, he is listening. When you speak to him, he listens, and then you see change start to take place. So my first thing I want to talk about tonight is on behalf of the residents of Chalky Mount and St. Andrew who live on the Cambridge plantation, which is tenantry land. In 2007, I held a meeting at my church, and I had asked Andrew Payne, he used to work at the Urban Development Commission, and Gregory Nichols, attorney at law, to come to speak to the residents and educate them about tenantry land and what they should do to own the plot of land that they live on. At that meeting, I also invited Mr. Proverbs. He was responsible for the trust, Peter Morris Barbados Trust at the time. And at that very meeting, he allowed the residents who had a raise, he waived the raise of the rent. From then till now, persons at Chalky Mount do not have the title deed to their land. And they asked me to come here tonight to raise the issue at this meeting. I already spoke with our parliamentary representative. I know that he went into the area and he met with some of the residents. But they asked me to ask you tonight what is the process that is involved in getting the land in their names. So I want you to talk to the people of Chalky Mount. They're listening. They're
Plantation is
online.
owned by whom?
It used to be owned by Peter Moore's Barbados Trust.
So is it still privately owned or publicly owned?
I am not sure what's happening
Okay.
with it now, but I think National Housing, they're responsible for the residents.
Okay, it may be a non-plantation tenantry then. Let us investigate it for you. I can't tell you offhand that I know the circumstances. Mr. Lord, I know you're not Ministry of Housing, you're NHC, but who is here from Ministry of Housing? Sorry? Come forward, ma'am.
Let me just respond as the chief housing planner comes to the front. Yes, I have already started the process of interviewing some of the residents in Cambridge and in Chalky Mount. I was aware of the situation where there are a number of persons living on the land. They've been renting the land, they've been tenants of the land for many years, certainly from the 80s when the act was passed. And these persons have not gone through the process of acquiring the title deeds for the land. I've met with the owner, Miss Contour. I don't want to mispronounce her name, but I think it's Miss Contour. And I've met with her lawyer. And I've met with a representative of the National Housing. And we've had initial discussions, and she's eager to transfer the ownership of the land to these tenants. So it's just a matter of going through the process of steps. I know that there's a process, and I would prefer someone from the inside to speak to it, but rest assured that I will go to every resident I have on the list and speak to any resident who needs any support in acquiring those title deeds. I've started that, and I will continue that. And I'm doing it not only in St. Andrew, but a lot of these tenants reside in St. Joseph, in Cambridge. So we have done both Chalky Mount and Cambridge, most of Cambridge thus far.
Okay. It would be nice to still hear the process because everybody's
Yes,
asking.
I'm going to invite. She was just waiting for me to make a statement before she rises, and then she's going to speak now.
Hello, good night. My name is Nicole Johnson, Chief Housing Planner, Ministry of Housing, Lands and Maintenance. The process for acquiring lands on tenantries, the persons would have to complete 3 Form 1 notices. 1, they give to the landlord. The other 2, they return to the ministry. We do our necessary investigations to ensure that the persons are qualified to purchase under the Act. That means that we would like to see rent receipts.
This is for both plantation and non-plantation
tenantries.
And who ministry handles both?
Yes, once it's in the
let us
rural
govern.
area.
Let us govern. The MP has said that he will go and visit. Rommel walk with the forms and carry to the persons if they haven't filled out the forms yet. And that will trigger the process for the landlord to start to act. Okay? So can we agree that that will be done? How many tenants approximately on the lands?
There are about 25 persons that I know about, but she said about rent receipts. Obviously, these individuals will not have the rent receipts after all these years. So I'm not sure what will happen in a case like that.
That is what I'm saying. The MP has said that he has already met with the representatives of the owners. So that would indicate that they also are prepared. You indicated to sell as well, correct?
Yes.
And therefore, let us just have a meeting, go and meet with the residents down there. Rommel, carry the forms, and then have a meeting with the lawyer, and let's get this behind us, okay? There's anything else besides the forms going in, that process will pretty much take care of itself, correct?
Yes, correct. So once we've stamped the Form 1 and returned them to the individuals, and the landlord and the attorney would send out the letters to the persons telling them what the size of their lot is, and they can go from there.
And if it is plantation tenantry, it is 10 cents a square
It will be 10
foot.
cents a square foot.
And
or
if it is
$1.
non-plantation tenantry, they would pay the first $2.50 a square foot, and government
up to
pays the
5,000
difference
square feet.
between $2.50 to $15, but up to only 5,000 square
Square
feet.
feet, correct.
Okay?
Any
So
excess is paid
everybody's
at
clear.
the open market price.
Yeah.
Over 5,000 square feet will be paid at the open market price.
Okay. Thanks. So we'll agree. You'll go there? Thanks.
Okay. Second issue. Currently, we have a problem in Chalky Mount where the domestic water we know out there has slippage, and I find that a lot of residents now they're having problems with how they manage the domestic water. And I was thinking, you know, under the Scotland Rehabilitation Program, if you all could look at a project, a wastewater project for the people of Chalky Mount, provide the waste pipe so that they can channel the water correctly, because a lot of persons have pig pens and stuff, but when you go around the backyards, the water is not properly channeled, and because of that, we are now seeing a lot of slippage, and we already know the type of soil that we have up there, so I was wondering if that could be something that could be incorporated in the Scotland Rehabilitation Program.
I'm going to ask Mr. Lord to speak because yesterday he did a wonderful job of explaining to residents when we went to Belle Plaine and other areas what is the difficulty in particular for St. John. Who else is here that may speak after you, Mr. Lord? Because I'm a little lost in terms of seeing people because we're all on the flat together.
I don't know if our colleagues on Water Authority might want to say anything about it. I don't see anyone for MPT. Good evening, my name is Raymond Lord. I'm the planner at the National Housing Corporation. I understand what our colleague and good friend was saying about the water issue, the domestic water issues in St. Andrew. Just to be clear, St. Andrew is probably the most beautiful parish on the island, but the most difficult to live in. And I say that coming from St.
Raymond,
Philip.
beauty always comes at a price.
The problem that you have is that what gives you your beauty is what gives the problem. You are on what we call the Scotland series clays. There is no limestone. Therefore, there is no percolation membrane to take the water away through the soil. It is clay. Therefore, when you inject water into clay, it changes its character and it will slip. It is what the nature of the soil is. The basic principle that you have to begin to do in St. Andrew is control your amount of domestic wastewater. So you have to look at how much you use, when you use it, how you discharge it. We were discussing in one of the areas that we're looking at how we are going to manage it by possibly use of, on a flat area, use of a different system using septics and then some additional series areas that will slow down the percolation rates. If you have pig pens and stuff like that, you're going to have to look very carefully at if you have to put in a septic or some kind of holding mechanism, so you hold that water so it can discharge. That becomes difficult again in terms of how you build it. You have to take professional advice. As long as you inject water into the soil in St. Andrew, it will do what is called heave, it will lift, it will slip, and it will slide. It is clay. So the basic premise of living in St. Andrew starts with that you have to work almost in reverse and control how much water you output, and whatever holding system the engineers can help you put in your system, around your houses. Pig pens are especially problematic, again, because you do a lot of washing down. So you have to look again at the system where you can somehow hold the water a little bit before it goes down. I think we're going to have to get the engineers in, Scotland District people, and have a look. But as long as you inject water in, it becomes unstable. And that goes for any area in the Scotland District, whether it be Belle Plaine or whatever. It is clear, so you have to almost let the water go off on its own. So that's all we can say for right now, but in Chalky Mount, you're going to have to manage somehow until the government can get a look at the broader picture. Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Lord. And I think that does everyone understand what Mr. Lord was saying about the peculiarities of St. Andrew? Okay. Rommel, you wanted to speak?
Just to make the point that coming out of yesterday's discussion and certainly this evening's discussion, I think that we should perhaps, and I will endeavor to work with the Public Affairs Department as well as GIS to create a public awareness program for persons in the Scotland district where greater awareness will be brought on how to manage wastewater, primarily because of the peculiarity of the topography and the soil type that's found right across the Scotland district. And further to that, I will speak to the Prime Minister about creating a revolving fund so that persons who may not necessarily have the funding to build the septic tank that Mr. Lord had recommended, those persons can use this fund to source monies so they can develop their properties, building that septic tank, and in doing so, help to preserve even the land around their homes and the land around their community. Because what one household does impacts the entire community.
Minister, I'm glad you said that because I was also looking. Sorry.
If I can say that on both matters, he has spoken into my right ear. And I suspect that by the time it gets to the left ear, that he can get success on both matters. And why? At the end of the day, we have a catastrophe fund. But a catastrophe fund, AG, we have discussed, can't only be about helping people after the catastrophe. It has to be also to avert the catastrophe. And the level of slippage that we are seeing in the Scotland district is such that we may well have to create a Scotland district revolving fund in order to be able to have persons access loans at low interest in order to be able to put in septic tanks. And we certainly need DPM to work with the Barbados Water Authority on the wastewater aspect. And I would like to think that you all should lead the effort of working with GIS and Public Affairs. GIS and Public Affairs are the medium through which communication will happen, but the Water Authority, Mr. Halliday, and DPM and MP ought to come from Water Authority so that people who are doing things in St. Andrew can be clear as to what the risks are. And Mr. Lord is right. This is one of the most beautiful parishes in this country. But as we all know, beauty comes at a price. And therefore, we have now to take care of it. If not, we're going to lose what is beautiful about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Minister, I also went a little further and I look at the UNDP small loan program, and I recognize that a project of that nature could fall under this. So I started to prepare a proposal. I'm not sure how successful it would be, but you can get up to $50,000. So I'm about to submit that proposal as well. But failing that, I think what the Prime Minister would have said is a very good idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Murray. Thank you, Natalie.
Good night, all. My name is Major Boyce. I want to clear up a few things reference Chalky Mount and the soil. There are two types of soil. There are two soil types in Chalky Mount. From Leslie Hole there, where the junction is, where the Y junction is, down to the bottom of St. Andrew, down the bottom of Chalky Mount is either clay or sand and sandstone. Those will not slip. The problem is that most of the houses are on ridges. Everywhere you look at Set Bell Plain, the house or the houses are on ridges. That means that there's going to be a lot of water coming off the ridge and going down into the valley. The problem with Chalky Mount, the top part going back to the school, is that is Joe's River muds. The same type of muds that you will find, or the same type of soil that you will find in White Hill. No matter what you do, that is going to slip and slide. It is on a ridge. When the rain falls, it's going to rotate back and slip out. You can't stop that. There are certain things you can't stop. You could control it to some extent, but you're not going to stop it because rain will always be falling and there will always be erosion. The problem with the houses going up towards the school is the fact that the water off the roof as well as the water from the pig pens and sheep pens and whatever else pens they have, that must be channeled through pipes to the very lowest point in the valley. That way, the water is let off, and you're having a situation where you can see it from out the bay, which is Cambridge. You can see it like bumps, because it is sliding this way. The same thing is happening on the Salbat. The same thing is happening on White Hill. The same thing would happen on Moss Bottom. It is, as I said before, it is pure mud, Jejo's River mud. Just like a volcano came through the earth, that would bring fire and brimstone. This one came with mud in the early formation of Barbados. The next thing I want to clear before I say my little piece is the fact that the plantation, both Cambridge and Bisix, was leased by Peter Moores. He leased the land for the people, for the villagers, the residents around the area. And what he did, he actually landscaped the land. He planted grass, nutritious grass with lots of protein in it. And he also brought in a bull, red pole from Jamaica. And what he did, he gave the land to the people. You could bring one cow, and I suppose that this could be the practice in St. Andrew. They brought one cow, and they would have to pay $1 per month. And that would include feeding, water, and getting, I want to put this. They could go to the bull, for one of a simple word. But they had to be injected. So they have to be injected for TB before they can go to the bull. Basically, that's what I'm saying. Now, if you had 5 sheep, you could carry the 5 sheep to those areas. Of course, they were padlocked. Then they were tagged as well. And then you would pay the same $1. So it ended up that a number of people in Chalky Mount had over 50 sheep from that. And that's the black belly sheep. So that could be a practice. In fact, I heard one of the Calypsonians say to take up 10 acres of land from the plantation and give it to the poor people. If you want food security and you want things to happen, you have to give it to the poor. The plantation is not doing anything. In fact, you don't see a cane from here to Baby's Lane. No canes around. So take up the land and give it to the people and let them farm it. And you will get good results, Madam President. The other thing I want to say...
not President, though.
Sorry.
I understand, though.
Sorry,
and I want to thank you. So I'll let you continue, but I want to thank you for a couple of things. One, I want to thank you for your knowledge of the parish and for helping to expand on what Mr. Lord started so that we have a conversation. And the truth is that, and the AG will confirm, one of the last pieces of legislation we passed when we left government in 2008 was the Scotland District Authority Act. It is important for the very reasons that you have started speaking about, because Scotland District has its own peculiarities and we need to be able to make it real. It was always intended that we would ultimately subsume soil conservation and other entities within the Scotland District Authority, but it would also have a more holistic approach, including farming, including rural development, and other things.
I'm glad you said that, Mom. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm glad you said that because I was coming to that. Yeah. It's time, the Soil Conservation Act of 1957 is far outdated.
Yep.
They need to have a different mandate and be totally in control of St. Andrew. Give them the tools, give them some money.
I don't know that them, because you're listening to me now, but I take the point that the Soil Conservation Act needs to be updated. And the last thing I did before coming here this evening is that I went to Haggett's with the Ministry of Agriculture officials and soil conservation officials to look at the pond that we put down there in order to be able to deal with the watering of the orchard. But what I want to say is this: the Scotland District Authority must happen. It must happen. The difficulties that we had, and you know, in these sessions, I talk straight. Coming into office, we went straight into an IMF program, and we went straight into rationalizing the state-owned enterprises. That was put on pause because of COVID. We are coming out of COVID now. I've signaled that we have to look and keep on top of the rationalization of the state-owned enterprises, of which a critical one is going to have to be how we deal with the Scotland District Authority and how we deal with the rural development within the context of this 1/7 area of Barbados. 1/7 of Barbados is the Scotland District. Okay? And regrettably, what we have seen over the last few decades is people moving out of St. Andrew, people moving out of St. Joseph, people moving out of parts of St. Peter, largely because we've not carried the services to the people. So that is why you've seen us. We finished the outpatients clinic here at St. Andrew that we opened, what, earlier this year? Or was it last year? It was so long already. And we did the one in St. Joseph as well. We are going to deal ultimately with the police station and civic center. But the truth is, I can't tell you that we're going to get it this year or this financial year, because the truth is that we're also dealing with the roads and we're dealing with housing and relocation first. And at the end of the day, the pocket still got a limit. It don't go all the way down. So suffice it to say that there is a planning program for bringing services back to the Scotland District so that people will want to remain in the Scotland District living. Now, it means how we build and where we build is of the utmost importance. And that's why even up to yesterday, the Member of Parliament took us to an area in Shorey Village where he wants to do housing, correct? And we've agreed with Mr. Lord that we will look and see what conditions can attach to us being able to do housing on that flat point there in Shorey Village. So we are with you, Major Boyce.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
sure that the AG has also heard you, because you mentioned Saddleback, you mentioned other areas, and the truth is that we just need to educate the public and to work with the public as regulatory agencies to be able to secure and stabilize what we're doing in this part of the world.
Right. I think, Madam Prime Minister, I think they are on the same wavelength. I think the soil need to be, that soil conservation need to be changed to probably soil conservation Valley Authority or something like that. Because all the rest, Jamaica has the Yallows Valley Authority, America has the TVA, the Tennis Valley Authority. They're doing similar functions, but the name is outdated as well. So we need to tackle that. Now, I'm coming to my special presentation this afternoon. I'm going to start with Chalky Mount again. The school was demolished in Chalky Mount. For whatever reason, I'm not going to the reason why it was demolished, but I'm saying if you demolish a center, school or community center from a district, you are going to destroy the district. As simple as that. They have nowhere to go for meetings or such like. I'm proposing that the same Chalky Mount school grounds, that is the rubble and so on, be cleared, and that section be repaved and used as a volleyball, netball, and a road tennis courts. To the front of the building, which is to the south of the building, the infrastructure are already in place, or most of it is in place. Therefore, we would like to have a playing area for the kids, all the kids. And then at the south, which is the back end of Chalky Mount, they need to be green, clean and green. They need to have some trees and seating in so that the old folks can go there, retire, and live happily ever after. Now, I'm coming to...
You sound good, Major Boyce. You sound good.
Right. I'm talking about the roads now. I have a problem with the roads. But before I get to the roads, I have a problem with the construction of the roads. When the roads are being... First of all, those roads that were built or are built or are still there, those roads were built for donkey carts, dray carts, a few small cars, and people walking or riding bicycles. They were not built for those 10-wheelers, the sand trucks laden with wet sand going up those hills. You see what happened is because they were not properly built in the first place, the covering, what is on them, the little black tar that is on them, that is not holding the road. The trucks go over that and it wobbles. Then the roads are built, if you realize they're on a ridge. And they go from, let me tell you something about the ridges first of all. The ridges come, they follow the coast. They're actually parallel to the coast. That's how it was lifted up. They're always, nearly always parallel to the coast. If they do go west, they turn.
Come back closer to the mic, I think so.
If they go west, they come back and, like, let's say Mose Bottom for an example, that is moving this way. But then when it gets to the top by Greg Farm, it comes back north again and parallel with the Atlantic Ocean. It therefore means that everything that falls on that watershed is a whole watershed. In fact, St. Andrew is made up of a big watershed, which is 27.7 square kilometers or 9.6 square miles. It's probably the biggest watershed in the island. Everywhere you go, there's a watershed. And once the land is sloping from south to north, it is going to cause a problem because it is high on the southern end and then it slopes and runs down. But nobody comes and asks the people who live directly in front of the roads where the water is going, where it comes from. Take Coggins, for example. They live in Coggins. The road slopes like this. Therefore, if the rain falls up here, it's not going to go there. It's going to go that way. And when it gets, you may not know, ma'am, but by Gardy Ford, it has to get out. So it crosses the road at that point. And then there's a spring a little further up, for example. You do what the soil did in Sedge Pond. Tap the spring with a pipe, and that will feed it down into the road. I have a problem too, before you come in, ma'am, with the bridges. The bridges are poorly constructed. I mean real poorly constructed. I'll give you an example. In 2010, I photographed every single bridge in St. Andrew and every culvert in St. Andrew. The East Coast has a problem, but not a big problem because there are mountains there, Chalky Mountain, but there are sand. So not a lot of debris is going to come that way. So the little flat bridges they have further up, that will probably do. But you're going to laugh, ma'am. The flat bridge right here, I'm doing a project and I would like to spend a few minutes later on talking about that project that we are doing. The bridge is flat and it is in the water course. Remember, the train line, all the train line accoutrements are there. You have the train line 8 feet high and then a drop into the water course 10 feet. That means the train was traveling 18 feet above the waterbed. And they built the bridge inside the water course. Man, what do you expect? And what made it worse? It has flaws because they put 5 holes in the same bridge. And they're very small. A tree coming down from Lake Sturgis, when it gets there, it cannot get through that hole. So it backs up.
Major, let me tell you this. It is clear to me that you have a lot of local knowledge, a tremendous amount. It is also clear to me that what is needed is a conversation between yourselves and the people in the Ministry of Public Works.
I will be happy to do so. I'm doing it free.
And I have ensured that the Member of Parliament, who is the representative for this constituency, works in the Ministry of Public Works. And therefore, you as his constituent will have an air that he will arrange for you all to have, if necessary, a conversation and a tour. And fortunately, the Deputy Prime Minister is also here, and she has heard you directly. I believe that there is a role for local knowledge, and that we can't only use the science of engineering and geology, etc., but it's a combination of everything. So I would ask Rommel, because I know there are others who want to speak, Major Boyce, But I also want to thank you also for alerting us to other issues and to also helping in the process of expanding what Mr. Lord said so that we start the process of sensitization and public education for the people of St. Andrew, and that we begin to let them know, as the Parliamentary Secretary has asked for, that we have that public education and that we also have some kind of revolving fund, because it is clear that there's going to have to be far greater use of septic tanks and other modalities in order to be able to facilitate safe living but equally sustainable living in this parish. Because if it is not sustainable, then it means that people's investments will be washed away or they will lose them, and that is where we then end up with a genuine crisis and catastrophe. Okay?
Yes, I have one more thing to say before you get on. I have to give it to other people. But what I would like to see is some type of industrial development, whether it is a plant for doing garments or what have you. You see, when you have what is called geography inertia, or what you have industrial agglomeration, once you set up an industry, what happens? The other businesses will gravitate towards Belle Plaine. And once they gravitate towards Belle Plaine, they're going to find work for all of these people, including the local entrepreneurs. But I'm going to give you a man, because I want to talk about a project that is on the East Coast Road. If you give me 10 minutes later in the evening.
Thank you, sir, and please continue to want to participate and to give your knowledge. That's what these meetings are for.
Before we get going again, the driver of PA 1410, your lights have been on all this time. $14.40? Okay. Well, if you have a PA and it starts with 14, it's your lights.
Yes, ma'am.
Good night. My name is Califa Andrews, hailing from White Hill, St. Andrew. Man, you hear about White Hill? We have every single problems. I think that White Hill has the most problem in Barbados.
You just tell me you had the most beauty too.
Of course. I was getting to that. Right. My first I want to commend the Sanitation Authority. Mr. B had a problem with garbage pickup, and it was an issue when I called, and the reception that I got wasn't pleasant, and I highlighted the issue, and I'm happy to say before 7 o'clock the next morning, I had a call telling me that a gentleman from the Sanitation Authority wants to see me. So I said, well, I ain't get on my bed yet, but I still get on me. That gentleman is Mr. Delay Broom, and his superior came, they had a meeting, and I'm happy to say Mr. Broom is doing a wonderful job in White Hill. Madam PM, you visited White Hill yesterday, and you stood up by the garbage, and you see how clean White Hill is. Mr. Broom's always liaison with us. We knows when the garbage truck coming up, and we know if it's broken down. He's contact me and say, well, the truck is broken down. So every little detail is, so there's, you won't see in White Hill, you won't see like no garbage on the street anymore. Mr. Broom, I would like to...
And Mr. Broom, if you are here, please stand and take a bow. Thank you, sir.
He's doing a tremendous job. Because I was monitoring the situation for months, and it has changed for the better, not worse. My second thing is, I would like to commend the Barbados Water Authority I know it's strange me saying this. Mr. Halliday, and first I want to say kudos.
I don't know who you are. Why is it strange that you commending the Water Authority?
Barbados Water Authority.
Explain to me the context and the perspective.
Because everybody know when you say White Hill, you say water problems. I first of all,
You mean you're the one who's be on the radio all the time?
Yes, madam.
Oh, tell me so.
Right. I want to commend Mr. Dixon, first of all, because there was one time I stand a whole year where I could not even bathe in my bathroom because the water was not flowing. Mr. Dixon came a Sunday when he should be home. He came. I pointed out the problem to him, and he made me a promise. I'm going to go back to work tomorrow, and I'm going to explain to Mr. Halliday, and I'm going to get this problem fixed. So I said to him, I don't believe nothing you say. He said, I gave you that assurance, and I can say that he delivers. Now, we didn't know, we the people of White Hill didn't know what it's like on a Sunday, a bank holiday, no weekend, to have running water in our taps. Now, I have to turn down the valve because the water is just flowing freely. So I want to say kudos to the Barbados Water Authority.
Let me start now. Mr. Dixon, where you are? Stand. Mr. Halliday, stand. Mr. Springer, stand.
And my MP also.
Mr. Santia, stand. I know Mr. Dixon, I know Mr. Dixon is from St. Joseph. There was a time when Mr. Dixon was like you, leading protests about water, so that the fact that these people have worked, I'm joking, because we have taken all the licks. But when things are resolved, I can take the licks, but I also want to commend the officers and the people who helped make it happen. And all who you see standing, stand to star, I don't know your name. You understand? Because they have made a difference in the lives of the people of St. Joseph, St. Andrew, and St. John. It's not perfect. You can sit, thanks. It's not perfect. We have a number of areas still, but one blow is do a kill all cow. And we're working at it assiduously to make sure that we can put this country in a better position than what we found. Go ahead, ma'am.
Madam PM, I know you're a person that listens, and you visited White Hill on more than one occasion, and it pierced my heart to see that the children of White Hill doesn't have a recreation facility. All the boys, you have to keep the girls inside, and the boys is just riding a bicycle. And I think that there are lands up there that can be acquired to build probably a paper and a many community centers so that the children can interact with each other. Because it's like one day I heard a little 7-year-old say that there's nothing out there for them to do. And it's very hard living in White Hill. Very, very hard. But as the old people say, there's light at the tunnel, and I have hope. And I'm start seeing a little light. I hope to see many more lights shining in White Hill. And I think that even the simple church, we don't have a church in White Hill, it's shut down because of the road. We have nothing in White Hill. And if,
I think it may be an appropriate time for me to let the Member of Parliament speak, because you know and I know what he has in store for White Hill. And that will allow us to be able to deal with the rationalization of access to services and being able to get people, because White Hill and Hillaby are next door to each other, right? But I, like the residents of White Hill, had to go down that slippery, treacherous thing to get in and out. And until we fix it, it means that you're truly cut off, or you have to go all the way around. Okay, Ramel.
Yes, thank you for raising the issue of recreational facilities in Hillaby and White Hill. And it's an issue that I am quite aware of, and I've been making steps towards correcting it. Now, there's limited land in Hillaby, and even more limited land, it is even more limited in White Hill. And this is something that I'm aware of. Now, there's a piece of land in Greg's Farm that I discovered just recently was purchased by the church. Now, the church intends to rebuild a facility there. I toured that area yesterday because I understand there's a need for those kinds of facilities in Hillaby. Yes, there's the farmers playing field and the pavilion, but that is quite a distance from, certainly from White Hill. And it has been used by residents of Hillaby for many years. But I believe that Hillaby deserves to have at least some kind of facility within that community. And the Prime Minister has agreed that if we can work with the church, the land that the church has, they intend to use, if we can work with the church to build out a dual-purpose facility in Greg's Farm that would service Greg's Farm, Hillaby, Mose Bottom, White Hill. Church, yeah. If we can have that arrangement put in place, then you can see a purpose-built facility in Hillaby. And in one area that we have available, the one single location that we have available, we can do that. And that is what I endeavor to do. Of course, we have the space that the church would then surrender, because, of course, if they move over to Greg's Farm, they would no longer have to be in top of White Hill or Hillaby, or you choose to call that part of the road. We can also have that area paved, and we can paint 2 road tennis courts there. We have a number of road tennis players in Hillaby. Road tennis has really taken off in Barbados. We have seen it elevated to a standard that I can only describe as international standards. So that is one of the things that we have earmarked for Hillaby. There are not many places, but believe me, those 2 places we will endeavor to paint right there. But rest assured that as long as the church agrees and we can use that land and we can work together, we will build some kind of facility for the people of Hillaby, Whitehall, Greg's Farm, Turner's Hall. Because as you said, there are absolutely no facilities for the young people or even the elderly people within those communities, except, of course, the churches. Now, yesterday we would have toured White Hill. As I mentioned earlier, we toured a number of places, but we terminated in White Hill. And one of the things that we discovered on arrival, basically just looking at the road as part of the rehabilitation process, and we will soon start that road. I know that question is going to come. Designs are already been made for the roads, and we expect that as soon as those designs are approved, I would have Mr. Trudeau speak with more details as it relates to the technical aspects of the road. But I will say this much. Part of the rebuilding process, a rehabilitation process in White Hill, will have to involve the removal of some of the homes, certainly on the northern side of the road, to facilitate the installation of gabions that would buttress the road and help to support that road when we build out the new road. So we have identified at least 14 homes that we will relocate. We will seek to find land either in farmers, in Shorey Village, wherever we can find land in St. Andrew, to relocate those homes so that those persons can have their homes elsewhere and we can use that space to support the road. Because as was mentioned earlier by Mr. Lord, with the wastewater flowing from those houses, it will over time saturate and will compromise the substructure of the road. So it's an absolute must that persons will have to be relocated from White Hill. It's a process that would have started years ago, but we have to continue if we intend to build back a much better road than what currently exists or what existed before. But thank you for raising the issue for the community or resource center. It is really an urgent need in that part of St. Andrew.
You're welcome. Madam PM, my last point. I would like to get my mail in a timely fashion. I had to catch the bus 2 weeks ago to go to the post office to get my mail. You imagine, because it was a long weekend, this is the weekend leading up to Kaduma weekend. Now, our postman is on sick leave. Got into an accident on sick leave. I contacted the post office. I was told I cannot get the mail. I said, I'm going to come for my mail. I was told I cannot get the mail. I said, but they are my mail. If y'all don't have anybody to deliver the mail, I come in for my mails. Because you never know when the important letter is at the post office. I said, I catch in the bus and I come in. You imagine there are pensioners in the area. And pensioners have to wait till like days and weeks. I liaison with the inspector at the post office, and I wasn't happy with the response, and I spoke to my MP about it after, and my MP assured me that the matter will be dealt with, but I am not happy. They are elderly folks. I have to pay my bills with old bill, cause I don't even get a phone bill anymore. So I had to get I don't like paying bills online, but that's why I have to revert to for the time being. When you get the bills are already paid. Sometimes when the time that the postman comes, it got you confused. You would think that you bill twice in 1 month. So I would need you to look into this. It's like sometimes every 2 weeks or so you see a postman in the area. Well, I saw one this morning early enough. Early, before 8 o'clock, I was shocked. But I don't know when I can see one again.
Don't be so doubting. I believe the Madam Postmaster General is here. Is she here? Yes, ma'am. Would you like to speak? So to assure this lady that we haven't forgotten her or White Hill. Arlita? Thanks.
Yes, good night, everyone. You can hear me clearly? Yes, ma'am. Okay. All right. Yes, ma'am. I really want to apologize for the inconvenience that the residents of White Hill that they're having. As you would have correctly indicated, the regular postman for your area is on leave, having been injured. And what we have determined is that we will make an effort to have at least one delivery in the area per week for the simple reason, if we can get two, because remember, when a postman is pulled from another area to deliver to you, so in the absence of your regular delivery person, we have to pull someone from another route to deliver to your area. And your area includes several other areas as well. That postman would normally have about 668 delivery points. So it's not just White Hill alone that person delivers to. But we understand that whenever there is an issue with vacation leave, injury, or other illness, there is usually a decline in the quality of delivery service, because we have to have persons alternating on the routes. But the commitment from that office is initially for at least one delivery per week. In terms of the pensions, etc., we will try to make sure that those go out as soon as they are received. But just remember that the persons on your route require pensions, and persons on the other routes that postman would normally deliver to requires pensions. We do have some recruitment challenges at the post office. There is a young person, however, an auxiliary postman, who is learning the route.
I'm not hearing the back end of what you said, but suffice it to say that I think that this is a standard. If we're going to have areas which obviously might be affected, we need to find a way of communicating to the people in those districts that for whatever reason there's a problem, and that the mail delivery may be reduced for that week or 2 weeks or whatever, but that they are free to collect it at X place as well. So I think we have to give people options, and we can discuss later with your minister and yourselves what kind of options we can put in place to facilitate that kind of condition. But yes, I thank you for your responsiveness, And I also thank you for clearly responding to the issues even before they were raised here tonight.
All right.
Does that satisfy you, ma'am? Corridor? Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you, Madam
Thank you.
Postman. And that's for which other districts besides White Hill, sorry, before you sit?
Essentially, the postman who delivers to White Hill also delivers to Bordens, Fruitful Hill and Boarded Hall, Lower White Hill, Upper and Lower Walkers, Cane Garden, Coggins Hill, Turner's Hall, Trio Path, a part of Belle Plaine, Babylon, Baxter's, Rock Hall, Bruceville, right, Rock Hall and Bruceville. And essentially, as you all would have realized, there were more routes for St. Andrew. However, over time, and given the decline in the number of pieces of letter mail, we would have made adjustments to routes. And over time, they have been reduced.
Thank you. And let me help you. What all she is saying is confirming exactly what we've said. And I can look at the voters list and tell you the same thing too. The population numbers in the Scotland district have dropped significantly, and therefore the number and volume of packages or mail coming in will equally drop unless there's something that we don't know about that's happening. So let us work to stabilize the Scotland district, and let us work to bring back the services as the government has clearly been doing. St. Andrew through George Payne, and now Rommel Marshall, St. Joseph, Rommel Springer, sorry. Rommel Marshall on my mind today. And Dale Marshall, in St. Joseph, and Colin Jordan in St. Peter, and Charles Griffith, who is here also in St. John. The bottom line is that they have been working and making me miserable with respect to ensuring that the services are brought back to the Scotland district, and we have agreed willingly to do so. But we are equally, as I said, managing a difficult situation, and therefore, while we are doing things, we're not getting to do as much as I would like, as fast as I would like, largely because of the other inherent problems in the Scotland district, which relates to slippage and which relates to geotechnical studies and other things that have to be done before we can make the start. I'm surprised that nobody has come yet and thanked or realized that we've started, Santia, the Scotland District Rehabilitation Road Project that you heard me speak about in St. Joseph and St. John Parish Speaks. And that started yesterday morning in Shorey Village. And that is the Chinese loan that we've gotten from the Chinese government. It's $230 million. And at 2%, the difference in the savings to the government of Barbados, the difference in the savings to the government of Barbados will be significant, and therefore will allow us to do even more roads and more infrastructure projects elsewhere, because instead of paying interest at 8 and 9%, you're paying it at 2%. So you do the mathematics, the arithmetic for yourself. But thank you. I don't know if you want to say anything on it, Santia, with the project.
Good night, everyone. Just to reiterate what Prime Minister said, we've started work on the Shorey Village project. Vaughan's Road is going to be next. Let me just say that, St. Joseph. And to get to this point, it has not been easy. The gentleman who spoke earlier, Major Boyce, he made me reflect on the fact that in the last few months, I think both Rommel and I have learned quite a bit about soil, particularly in the Scotland district, what is required in order to be able to do the investigative studies to determine what to do in relation to building out these roadworks. And I can tell you that a lot of work is going into being able to make this project happen in the shortest time frame. We meet every week, Senior Minister Duguid, myself and Rommel, along with the Complant team, trying to make sure that we have all of the studies done and to make sure that we are able to execute this project. Because I have a parasec who is constantly in my ears on behalf of the people of St. Andrew, in particular, to highlight to us the difficulties. And we saw it yesterday, Prime Minister, when we had to traverse the various areas of St. Andrew, how difficult it is to get from one area to the other because the bridges are not operational or because the roads are also not in a good condition. And so we are trying to pull out all the stops to be able to accelerate this program, get as many construction companies involved to be able to accelerate the roads over the next few weeks. I didn't hear anyone ask about White Hills specifically in terms of the road up there, but just to say to you that that has also been high priority. The geotechnical studies have been done. We're waiting on, they had about 3 designs that they were looking at because again, it is a very technical area given the slippage and it requires a lot of the engineers to be involved in making determinations as to which option is the best option. They're at the final stage now in looking at what the last design, and I hope that by mid-September we will have a final design, and then we will obviously have to move into consideration of how we're going to construct the road. So just to say that, it's been a long road to get to this point, but the intention is to be able to put in place a road to be able to provide for the residents in White Hill.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good night. I'm Andrew Jordan from White Hill. I remember when the road in White Hill collapsed. My son was in primary school. He's working now. And October coming will be 19 years now. When that road broke down, I really come here to talk about the road because you all say that work will be done, but I was hearing that over 8 years ago. And nothing at all has been done. Promises, promises, and promises. I like the promises, it can start soon, hold tight. I like that. But we've been holding tight real long. I want to know when we can let go. Another thing is, when I and most people will get off the bus by Pastor Ward Church, people complain about they got potholes in the roads and they want a new road. Yes, I agree, a lot of people that got potholes in the roads want a new road, but we don't even have a road. We got to go through the gully, through mud, and everything. Many times they slip down there and fall. Now I think it's time enough. Years passed already and nothing has been done. So I think that something should be done now. Plus, another thing too, when we get off, there's no lighting. You can imagine going through a gully with no light. Thank God for cell phones. And if we don't have lights on these phones, many people will fall down, coming down. We ask for road, we got steps. We got to go down steps. And many times, I myself have to take my time and go down those steps. Sometime in future, somebody will fall and break the neck, hand, or foot. So something need to be done. And I want to be short because I didn't mention a lot of things I want to talk about. The road in Bruceville, I don't know how much weight it can carry, but can a part of it open up that cars could pass through? I mean, something needs to be done because there's nowhere out of White Hill. we gotta go town to come get here, no? All the roads breaking down, all the bridges breaking down, everything breaking down.
Hold on. And I think that you've heard enough here this evening to know why we face the problems in St. Andrew that we face. Correct, sir?
Yes.
Mr. Jordan, correct?
Yes.
Right. Secondly, I can't but apologize for every government and every MP and every Ministry of Public Works, and I shall do so for the last 19 years. But as I've said, this government doesn't have eyes in the back of our head. We got eyes going forward. It has taken us 2 years almost to deal with the negotiations of the same road project that the minister, and I just told you, has started yesterday in Shorey Village. The only reason they didn't start in White Hill as we would like is because the designs have only just finished, and that they have now to do a number of things in the assessment of the designs with the geotechnical report that they have in order to be able to start. I am promising you, I ain't even telling you anything. All I can tell you, in 1994, I can get a story. In 1994, August, canvassing Bourne's Village for the first time. And the people down there tell me that they never had the road fixed in decades. I said, well, I ain't even born decades. At that time, it was only 24, 25, or whatever it was. Or 27, whatever it was. You know what I tell the people in Bourne's Village? I said, don't vote for me. Because I ain't getting a promise. But if this road get done, tell me about what you're going to do with me, and when I tell you about my word going forward in future. Within 3 months, and it's ironic that I'm speaking now, because George Payne was the Minister of Public Works, and we went in there and did the road for the people. I owe George Payne. I know even Rommel Springer. I owe George Payne. You understand what I'm telling you? But I also owe the people of White Hill, because I have been up there how many times since being leader of the opposition or prime minister. And from the time we came in, William Duguid will tell you, as Minister of Public Works, coming right down now to Santia and Rommel as Paul said, that we have focused on nothing else but getting it done. But Mr. Lord will also tell you that he and others made other recommendations over the years, and that those recommendations clearly will show, at the very least, and we took the decision, those houses on the above side, the 14 houses that Rommel spoke about, need to move. And they need to move urgently. And I've said so. Okay? But by the same token, we also need them to move because we have to build gabions to stabilize the road. Now, I'm a little upset that you ain't get the light, because I asked for that light to be put in place some time ago. And therefore, Rommel, I'm going to ask you to get the light in place with Public Works, please, and put the light in there for the people. And I went down that hill and up when there was no steps. You remember?
Yeah.
And worse than that, it was raining the day. So that I understand what you mean about a treacherous walk. Okay? But the lights have to go in. I ain't getting a promise, I ain't getting nothing. Suffice it to say, next time I come up there, I come in to eat food at you.
Okay,
and drink a drink. Yes, sir.
Good evening, head table and all persons here. My name is Laurie Rudder. I will try to make short, very short. I wrote in 2019, I draft a letter to the Prime Minister's office. It was addressed directly to the Prime Minister. I took my time, went across that road by Popular and delivered a letter. I never got a response from her. Anyway, I know you're a busy woman, but I'm going to go.
Well, I had to receive it to respond. If you went cross by Popular, you didn't carry it by the Prime Minister's office?
I carry it by your,
you
back office.
You carry it by the constituency office.
I carry it to your constituency office.
Right, but if you're coming to me, look, he would tell you that every letter that comes into the Prime Minister's office to me, Mr. Morris, that's why he's Director of Citizen Engagement.
Okay.
Okay?
Madam Prime Minister, sorry about that, but I have the letter here now. From 2019. I will go straight. I heard a lot of things about land slippage and those kind of things in the Scotland district. When Sugar was king, all the people in St. Andrew were pushed in the gullies and the hills. All the people, the plantation wanted the flatlands for production. When SP Mussons were taken over by the government continued to keep the people in the gullies and the hills. So as time progressed and people improved their lots, they started to build water toilets and those big buildings in the hills. What should have happened? Government should have moved the people out the hills and the gullies and create spots on those flat lands. Government has the most land in St. Andrew. Borders, Highgates, Greenland, Sedge Pond. And there are flat lands out at soil that could really relocate those people in the hills and put them on flat lands so you don't have to worry about them again. But what they are doing is planting fruit trees. I know Prime Minister, you love to see those fruit trees out there. On those flat lands, those fruit trees should be planted in the hills and the people should be sited on those flat lands. You would not get that kind of slippage again. I had it all explained to Madam Prime Minister. The 4,000 coconut trees I saw conservation had out there, those should be in the hills. Bring the people out the hills, put them in the flat. You don't have to worry about them again. But no, you are planting fruit trees on the flatlands. And like you said in a bulletin, people living precariously dangerous on lands in the hills. Those people want moving out those hills. You go into St. Simon's and people land slipping down the hills. Move the people, put them down on Highgates. The same thing could be done in St. Jovia. Those people are slipping. And you know what happening? People drifting out to St. Andrew, You know what? We can't get a place to put in a house. A fellow wants to start at 20 by 10 and then add on wall. We can't do it in the hills. Madam Prime Minister, I'm asking you and your technocrats to look at the policies, the soil conservation, planting fruit trees on flatlands. When I did agricultural science, and they said to stabilize hills, you plant trees in hills. I know there a pond was built there at Highgates. But I recall when George Penn and I we were buddies, we looked at those lands and we said those lands will be house spots for St. Andrew people. Madam Prime Minister, look at it again.
As I indicated to you earlier, I think you know the land in Shorey Village. And last time I checked, the land in Shorey Village in Panna Hill.
They may got much spots there.
They got enough to start. And one by one we shall start. Let's go back. Haggots. Who started Haggots? I was a little child. Where's the Chief Agricultural Officer? I didn't tell you this afternoon, that I remember going up Haggots. Our father carrying us for a drive on a Sunday and picking fruit up at Haggots when I was 6 and 7 and 8 years old. So the fruit trees didn't just go on Haggots, Mr. Rudder.
Pardon me?
The fruit trees didn't just reach Haggots. They've been there for decades.
And some of them are old and not bearing.
And that may be so, and that's a matter for the lady there. But I am saying to you, fair is fair. All right? And that's why I keep making the point that we are correcting a lot of wrongs that have been accumulated over decades, Skipper, and we are starting. Mr. Springer did not carry me to no hills to put no houses down yesterday. Where he carried us, Raymond? He carried us on flat land. Okay? And believe you me, I hear what you're saying, because I am not an agricultural scientist. I never did it, but I know enough to know that trees with roots help stabilize hills, don't they? So we accept the validity of that with respect to aspects of it. But by the same token, we have to go about the restabilization and we have to go about the replanning, because you have people in St. Simons in difficulty. You got people in White Hill in difficulty. You got people in other areas, and we're working one by one, but I'm not putting them back in no hills. I'm not putting them back there. So we got you, Skipper.
Okay, Madam Prime Minister, I rest my case. Thank you very much.
Well rested. And it works by you in the hill night, isn't it? It's more or less flat. So even in St. Joseph, where the AG has gone for his house lots, is also relatively flat but elevated in Ginger Works. Amy wanted to speak. This said.
Just to answer the last commentator as well, many of the houses, in fact, from White Hill were moved to farmers. I think we had about 16. Nicole, Ms. Johnson, we had about 16 moved to farmers, and there are others that are moving. But what happens sometimes is when a family moves out, then that house that is left vacant, another family moves in, and then it creates the problem again. So we do recognize that having people relocated is a benefit for sure, but it's not something that is always practical or always happens.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Camille Bryant. I am from Chalkimo. My voice is going, so I wanted to attend this meeting tonight. So I decided to record what I wanted to say prior to this meeting. Sorry. Why everybody talking?
About the direction of the water coming off the road.
Okay, we're not gonna. Okay, ma'am, I can do better than that.
Sorry.
If you hold one side, I will make sure that we speak to you in the interim. I will ask my personal assistant to speak to you right away because I don't want you to strain your voice, and I'm gonna give you the hearing that you want. But playing it on the recorder, on the mic, this hall doesn't have the best acoustics. So even when the others are speaking, we're straining to hear because of how the system is.
All right, I gotta try my best to make my point. Couple is not couple. About 10 years ago.
What's your name?
Camille Bryant. About 10 years ago, I would have addressed a situation that is happening in Hopewell Road with the then supervisor of the NTW department, who would have retired. At that time, the gentleman would have said that he is a week away from retiring, and there was nothing he could have done at that time. I would have kept in contact with the NTW depot at St. Andrew for a very long time. Nothing was done. 2020, we had heavy rains and the land slipped away. When I contacted back NTW about the situation, the supervisor at the time was Mr. Adamson. He was about to retire as well, and he would have said to me that he would try his best then to see what he could do. Unfortunately, the best he could have done for that time was to bring Gibeon baskets on the site, which sat there for over a year because he could not get the materials or equipment needed to start the job. I was frustrated many days to see how the situation was escalating and nobody came to see what was going on. So I reached out to another gentleman, and he arranged for a site visit. It was September the 15th, 2021, with the new management of the soil conservation. On the conclusion of that site visit, I felt offended and insulted by what those managers or supervisors, engineers would have said to me. Because literally what they said to me is that this conservation does not have any resources available, machinery, material, or the manpower to do the job. And prior to me contacting them, there was a similar situation in the district with another young entrepreneur, and they had just took on the job to stabilize his restaurant. And unfortunately, I would have had to wait until the soil conservation had concluded the job over at Cambridge. However, they continued the conversation by advising me to look into my own finances to see if I can undertake the job on my own, but what they could do for me.
You could stop, because anything more you say will now have to be dealt with by the Public Service Commission. So I would like you to stop, because believe you me, if officers are telling you to come and pay for them to do jobs, then we have a problem. We have a big problem, and I'd like to tell you, if you want me to follow through on this, you're going to have to come, because I'm not going to prejudice the case against them, because they will be held accountable for coming and asking residents. Because the last time I checked, Chief Agricultural Officer and Minister, who was in charge of Scotland District Soil Conservation, can you tell me whether we have no equipment and no materials? Because last time I checked, the Ministry of Finance voted money for the Soil Conservation Authority.
Ma'am, can I continue before you say?
No, I can let you continue with me.
Okay.
Because this matter will go to the Services Commission.
But I want to clarify on what you're saying.
Because I'm going to let you clarify what you're saying, but I don't want it any more public, because what I am hearing from Mr. Morris too is going to end up at the Public Services Commission.
Okay,
Trust me on that one.
So can I skip the soil and then continue what is happening now?
You may. Because I'm going to ask MTW, where is it that you live again?
Hopewell Road.
Hopewell?
Yeah.
Coggins Hill. And the road is still slipping?
NTW came in after I had to deal with the soil, and they started their...
No, but we ain't done with soil, because soil is going to answer for your allegations. And I'm not even joking. Because the day that people in this country go to private residents and tell people that they don't have equipment and they don't have resources and they don't have material, please bring up, who is here? William, bring up the budget for Soil Conservation Commission for me, from Parliament for me, please. And I will tell you how much money the Parliament voted for it. And if they're going to come to residents and do that, I don't care what authority or what agency they come from, they are going to be held accountable in this country. Continue, ma'am.
After that interview and what they would have instructed me to do, they said that they would be at my disposal for advice.
You may have to go a little closer to the mic.
They would be at my disposal for advice on having the job done efficiently and effectively. They also said to me that they would have been working with the Nikki's restaurant in St. Joseph, where they would have been going into that job and offering the Nikki's advice on how to put down the gabion baskets and how to stabilize the land. As I said, I felt very offended because I went to school at the Alleyne School. I did many tours to the soil conservation, and it was always told to us that the soil conservation is an organization that was established for the Scotland district to control and stop and prevent, if necessary, the slippage
Absolutely,
and the soil
you're correct.
erosion in the Scotland district. So from the soil conservation and the slippage that I was getting, I got no leadway. October the 25th, MTW came in and started their work, the gabling work at the front of the road. I was happy because I felt as though I was getting somewhere. The reason why I was pushing so hard is because I'm self-employed and I have recently obtained a piece of land to open a outdoor spa facility. But the reason why I cannot go any further is because of the work that is being done and the process and how slow the work is being done. The gabling team came to a abrupt halt in December. Reason being, they told me they were out of material. On the 2nd of March, I contacted the new supervisor at NTW. It was an evening, and I said to him, I was on my way out, and I'm seeing some surface cracks at the front of the house where they left the material, and the cracks are looking as though the earth is opening. He told me, well, he'll pass in the morning of the 3rd. On the morning of the 3rd, there was a big explosion. And to our surprise, when we went to the front of the house, the wall had collapsed and the earth had opened. By 11 o'clock, the latest, the response was overwhelming, coming from Mr. Tudor, Mr. Patrick, the said soil conservation led by Mr. Ward and Mr. Springer. I think the name is the engineer, the head engineer at the soil. And they came and they saw the problem and they decided to tackle it head on and started the work immediately. The next day the work started. Within a 5 to 6 week period, the work came to a halt again in the actual beginning of the rainy season. I was contacting the officer who is said to be the officer for St. Andrew, and I was not getting any leadway, so I turned to the Nation. The story was posted in the Nation on the 29th of April, and that said morning, everybody came, all hands on deck, and got something done that I believe could have been done ever since. NTW had started a temporary road. Reason being, they said to me, they're going to construct this road so that when the soil conservation is ready to start the work, it will give them access to the area. This road, or driveway, what you want to call it, is supposed to be something temporary until the work is completed. But the work was done with a substance called milling stuff. It's not that stable. I had a few falls, to be honest, and I would have contacted back the MTW department and asked them what can be done. But the most hurtful thing about it is I have a client who comes every other Sunday to have her hair done for church before she goes to church. And one morning she actually felt fall coming to me. And I was so embarrassed. All I could have done was to help her get up and clean off her knee that was cut because she fell on that surface. Now, my point tonight is I am a young entrepreneur in the area of Chalky Mount, or if you want to say Hopewell Road, who is the oldest entrepreneur at that in the district, who has a salon, a operational salon / boutique. And I cater to all walks of life, all genders. And I have a customer who is not coming to me anymore. She's an elderly woman. And she said she's afraid of coming because she feels as though she will slip and fall. So I'm just urging the entities, the organizations that are involved to come to my assistance. The road that I have to walk or my customers have to walk is not safe, is a hazard. And I'm saying, how can my business grow? How can my business thrive when I'm faced with these issues? 5 weeks ago, I would have reported to the officer for St. Andrew. There is running water at my door, steady running water at my door. And if customers have to come to me, they have to walk through this water. Nobody is coming. The gabions that were built does not have drainage system, zero. The walkway was paved by MTW, and the water now has found a small crack from in those gabions to channel its way out. But unfortunately, that water is continuously running at my door. So I am literally at the mercies of MTW, the Soil Conservation. It's a stretch of road from Chalky Mount Bar to the corner. I'm not the only entrepreneur on this stretch because there's grass below me. There are old people, there are pensioners, there are disabled people on the same stretch. And I am here, although none of my neighbors are here. I believe that I can be an advocate to attest to what is going on. And all I am asking is for you all to come and complete the work. I can literally push my hand in the gablings and play with the water. So you know the water is gonna bring mosquitoes. And if you have to come to me for a service or you are coming to me to purchase something, you have to walk through that water.
I think we've heard you, ma'am. I'm going to deal with the soil conservation allegation very seriously. I've checked the estimates. Soil conservation gets $7.4 million voted for it this year. Of that, $4.5 million is wages and wage-related expenditure, and the other $3 million is to do its work. So rest assured, I shall follow up on that. You said that Mr. Tudor and Mr. Patrick came and started. Mr. Tudor, and when are you going to finish? Ma'am, I have one question for you. Is your house on the same level as the road or below the road? Because that may also be part of the issue too. But go ahead.
Right. The house is below the road, as you said. The house is in front of a water course, right? And the land continues to slip in that area. So the land continues to slip in that area, right? We understand that there's water there, but we heard that the water was due to a burst pipe in the area, and that's because water does not settle by gabions. The gabions, by their nature, are meant to be porous, and water is supposed to run through them, right? In terms of the driveway, I guess we could go back and do some work, but cracks continue to develop in that whole area, right? So I'm not sure if it is adequate to basically do anything really structurally significant there, because, as I said, the whole area is moving, right? And I suspect that at some point there are going to be more cracks in the house because where the house was built, like I say, is right next to the water course.
Let us not guess, ma'am. It is clear to me, because they're now showing me a photograph of your house. It is clear to me that where you are at least, 2-3 feet below the road level? So that's the first problem. Second problem, we need to probably get an engineer and geotechnical report done to see what can happen and whether it makes sense given what Mr. Tudor is saying. But what cannot happen is for the issues to remain unresolved and for the issues not to have, for the officers not to have a conversation with you on an ongoing basis. Can I ask you, DPM, please, to go in and to do a full report for me and Cabinet as to what the options truly are? Because you know me, we're not going to tell you to stand there and then you end up in more trouble. In the same way that I didn't tell the residents of White Hill that yesterday. So let us do a proper site visit and let us get this matter resolved for you. I know Mr. Morris has been tracking and trying to get, also working with MTW to get the issues resolved. Chief, you wanted to say something?
Yes, Prime Minister. As it relates to this matter, I am familiar with the situation that Ms. Bryan is having. And yes, we did go to the area. As you are aware, there are a number of areas in the Scotland district that are slipping. Soils conservation is stretched in terms of the areas that we're trying to shore, Cambridge, different areas that we constantly have to go in and stabilize. So while we do have the budget, of course, you know, with the time lag, with regard to shortages, sometimes the gabions, the other equipment that we need don't come in, and also in terms of resources. What we've tried to do for the residents in the Scotland district is if they have an urgent need and we don't have the resources available, we say to them, well, if you can purchase the things, we can guide you and help you in how you can go about it. In the case of, like, take Naniki, for example, where we didn't have the resources.
That will always get into trouble unless people communicate it properly.
Yes.
Because it is open to multiple interpretations. And I would like to suggest that rather than that, that we make a case. Look, when COVID started, the AG would tell you, MTW would tell you that I insisted that a Gabion construction team be put in place and that people who were not otherwise working could be brought on to do work to build the necessary gabions, because we know about the slippage in the Scotland district. What clearly has to happen is that there has to be a prioritization of the issues, and that we go to, one of the things that hurts me, where's town planner? Is town planner here? When I came to office, I was told that the last government was supposed to have completed a study for the whole Scotland district, starting from Horse Hill. We searched from larboard to starboard, and we ain't find the study yet. Only now to be told by people and officers that they don't think the study was ever done. Your PS would have known about it and indicated that you don't think the study is ever done. And this is why I tell you all that I feel as though this government's name should be Electrolux, because all we're doing is cleaning up, cleaning up. Now, ma'am, I've asked the Deputy Prime Minister to come. You have made the point, it is not you alone. She and the Parliamentary Secretary will look and send a report. But there is a limit also to what we can do in terms of resources. Because study yourself. These are properties that families have invested in for decades. They own them. When we have to relocate them, more often than not, the families don't have the funds to do it. And then it comes on government doing that, while at the same time, government also has to be responsible for those below the poverty line, whose houses get damaged. And because the country has been billing badly for decades, 50, 60 years, these flat roofs, overhang, no guttering. All of these are the things that have to change. If not, the country is not going to make it. And I'm therefore asking Barbadians to work with us and to make sure, and that's why I've asked Minister Duguid, Senior Minister, to get the videos out there and to start to show people what they can do as good construction and poor construction. Us getting the, we call it the hurricane straps out there for those, because you can't put the strap on a house that's rotten, but the ones that we can put them on. And that is why we are working, AG recall, to deal with a portion of the catastrophe fund to avert catastrophe. But because the scale of the problems are so wide, because we have not done anything as a country to sit down and talk with people, that's why I believe in these meetings. Because in these meetings, I hear from residents and citizens directly, and we then know what are the issues we have to prioritize. You can't be dealing with wants before we're dealing with needs. Full stop. So, ma'am, I apologize on behalf of everyone for the length of time when he started and stopping, but I am asking the Deputy Prime Minister to come up there and let us make a thing. What's the area in Britain's Hill called again? Reese Road? Huh? Out by Flagstaff in Britain's Hill. Reese what? Reeseland, Britain's Hill. Same thing again. Houses building upon a garbage dump out there. Road cracking, and the houses right below the road level, 2-3 feet. Philip yesterday asked you when we were touring, when you build below the road level so deep, doesn't the water come off and flood into the houses? And that's what we're trying to correct, ma'am. So nobody is right, nobody's wrong. I apologize for the starting and stopping, but what we need to get to the bottom of it, and what soil conservation should have done from the beginning, is to call in people, get the geotechnical done, and make a determination as to whether the house can stay or not, or whether there has to be a more comprehensive solution put in place. Can you therefore work with the DPM for us to look and see what can be done, ma'am?
No problem.
You said no?
No problem.
No problem? No problem. So, Santia, at the end, if the two of you all just link, and Ramel, and I apologize again, ma'am, but we will get to the bottom of these problems, because it's more than you, it's across the board. Thank you. And thank you for raising it. Thank you for having the courage to raise it too, because a lot of people will endure and don't talk. I God.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Dr. Laura Smith. I'm a social and community worker. I work throughout Barbados, and I work with several families here in St. Andrew. And I'm here on behalf of one of the families, which is a very vulnerable family. I tend to work with the most vulnerable families in Barbados, and those being single mother families, often with special needs individuals. And I'm here on behalf of Carrie Bryan, who's sitting next to me. She didn't really want to come. But since we were talking about stopping and starting of certain projects, I really wanted to come and discuss her case quickly and see what could be done.
What I will tell you, Laura, is that I don't take public discussions of individual cases in these meetings. I don't even go and take photographs for anybody whose house is burnt, because I don't believe that people's business should be made public to the world. But my personal assistant is there.
Thank
and
you.
I'd like you to go with her to her, so that we take
much.
this information in a way that retains the dignity of the individual who is affected.
I really appreciate
But
that.
I also want to thank you for coming forward and helping the family with the cases that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, Laura, are you good? Good night, Madam Prime Minister, members of the head table, and fellow citizens of St. Andrew. Basically, I won't stay long, because I just going to make some basic point. In St. Andrew right now, the most pressing problem is transportation and broken bridges.
What's your name again, sir?
Oh, yes, I am Dennis Boyce, better known as the Tomato Man. Ditchy Boyce, Tomato Man. Right. But I am...
For some reason, can we come now? For some reason, the system is not functioning. I don't know if you all have too much tin on it. I don't know what it is, but his voice is coming through in a way that I'm not even understanding what his first name is. So it's not about volume. It's about getting more warmth in the speaker, in the voice, so that I can understand what he's saying. Even my voice coming across very harsh too.
Yeah, right. As I said earlier, the basic problem in St. Andrew right now is transportation. We know that both bridges. You can hear me good, ma'am? You can hear me reasonably clear?
That's much better. And what is the first name again?
Dennis Boyce. Dennis Boyce.
David Boyce, thank you.
Or the Tomato Man. I prefer to be called Tomato Man. Anyway, but in St. Andrew, the problem is bridges. And There's a broken bridge in Baxter's, which is the ultimate, it's a major transportation hub. But I understand then from residents of Baxter's that formerly there was a road where as you could bypass that road, bypass that bridge, and come up to the back of the Nature Fund Ranch. As a matter of fact, there's a guy here right now said to me who was born in that area. He will be able to describe, he'll be able to tell you exactly. But I understand there's a cat road there, and all it needs now is just connection. And this is only 100 yards to brought you back to the Nature Fund Ranch, the back of Nature Fund Ranch. I don't know if MTW or the Soil Conservation or Mr. Spring is all fair with that, I don't know. So I would like to know why, saying that we in St. Andrew are so desperate. You have a bus to come all down Baxter Bridge, go back up, then you have to go right round again. Why, if it's feasible for that road, a temporary road could be cut to the back of the same area and mark it off and use it as a temporary road until the bridge is fixed. I would like to pose that question to MTW or Soil Conservation or somebody who in authority.
I'm told that the engineer who knows about that road is here. Mr. Marshall? Would you like to come and address it, sir? We can come back to you, Mr. Boyce, but we'll let him address so that you're aware.
Yes, ma'am.
And then MTW can speak to their program with the bridges. I know that we passed Borden's Bridge yesterday, and that started, and they know that there are a comprehensive program for bridges in St. Andrew and St. Joseph. But go ahead.
Hello, good night, everyone. Glenn Marshall from Ministry of Agriculture. I am Glenn Marshall from Ministry of Agriculture. Yeah, we are aware of the bypass, as you described it. We actually walked the area with the MTW and their team. There were some issues in terms of they will have to be cutting certain areas, filling certain areas to get over water course. And as far as I'm aware, that decision still has to be determined in terms of a cost and timing and that kind of thing by MTW. The ultimate right now is not at Soil Conservation Unit or Ministry of Agriculture. There is a budget that's to be determined to move ahead from there. Maybe MTW could speak towards the actual status.
But Mr. Marshall, okay, fortunately for you, you don't live in St. Andrew, but you don't know the agony. Honestly, I don't think you ever would experience the agony of coming all down by Baxter's and then going back up and come around the bus. You said that's a technical issues, but the point of connections is only about 100 yards. Understand? The Soil Conservation has a lot of new machineries. Lot that perhaps does nothing when it does come. I don't know. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying to you, I believe that no issue regarding my people in Belpain, St. Andrew, should be without no paramount importance. Because, as I said, you have the equipment, you have the personnel, and right now they're digging up the Shoei village, and the filling and such like could also be put to rough up a temporary road until the permanent bridge is done. And I understand from people in Baxter's. Yes, ma'am?
No, I'm saying we hear you, but with all due respect, he can't answer you, so direct your concerns to me and the Ministry of Public Works here.
Yes, Madam Prime
Minister.
Minister.
So I'm fairing the officer now. In the same way I will hold them accountable, I will also defend them strenuously.
Yes.
So believe you me, let's cool down and let's have the conversation. MTW, are you in a position to speak to what happened at that road? And the thing, Rommel, speak. You just spoke with, you all know.
He's referring to the Thompson Bridge. There was discussion about
Thompson Bridge.
The Thompson Bridge.
Thompson Bridge.
We call it the Thompson Bridge, yes.
The one that's broken down, right? That bridge. Right. Thompson Bridge.
You're referring to the Thompson Bridge.
Yeah, okay, sir.
And there was discussion around alternate road through on the what we eastern side of the Thompson Bridge, and through the Nature Farm Ranch.
Yes, like same road.
I heard mention of that when I first came back and went into Bruceville. There was discussion about having an alternate road cut through there. So I don't know.
One was done in St. Joseph. They had abandoned the one by Dr. Smith in St. Joseph. They cut through the forest and George River, and so I understand that is only 100 yards to connect the two. So I just wonder why the alternative road cannot be temporarily cut until the permanent bridge. That will save the Pacific St. Andrew a lot of suffering.
Yeah. Mr. Boyce, what we will do is that we will do a site visit, we will look at the roads, both sides, because there was also discussion about a road on the other side across the river.
That's not feasible.
All right, so we're going to do a site visit at the earliest possible time, and we will look at the possibility of that area being used as a bypass road.
Mr. Roy Morris live on the other road that used to be used, so that is not up to the question. But this road is on the right if you come into Belle Plaine.
No, I know exactly where it is. And I would have spoken to Mr. Morris about the use of that space where he resides as an alternate road as well. So we're going to we're going to look at it, we're going to see what we can do.
That road will have to go to the river, and I don't think that we could go to the river at this stage. And
hold on. The one thing I know is that we can't decide it tonight.
Yeah, okay.
Because I hear 3 different sets of things.
Okay.
And therefore, the one thing to make it clear is, Santia, do the site visit and let us bring everybody together, including soil conservation, with you all, and report to cabinet, and we give you the assurance we'll follow through, as we have been doing with every other.
I appreciate that, madam.
All right, Roy? We'll follow through.
The second point, I don't rush on fast, got a lot of people behind. That I'm trying to make the MTW formerly occupied the space down the East Coast roundabout here. Formerly, the depot, that have been pushed down and that space is vacant. I want to know why kiosks cannot be built for the vendors or people that are selling coconut, because the space right now is doing nothing. Why not the entrepreneurs, like the young lady perhaps could come and open her saloon in Belle Plaine, which is more central. Because 80% of the tourists that pass through, 80% of tourists that pass through Barbados pass on the East Coast. So I wonder why Mrs. Frank can ask the appropriate authorities to build some kiosks for us.
Very good idea, Mr. Boyce. And it is something that I will ask them to take up in conjunction with the Rural Development Commission. Okay? And I think the MP wants to speak about another major project that we are about to unfold and unveil that we're working on in St. Andrew, that hopefully will add to the recreational activity and entrepreneurial opportunities for the people in St. Andrew. Rommel?
Yeah, thank you, Prime Minister. Let me just take this opportunity to speak to a number, not just one, but a number of initiatives that we have here in St. Andrew. Some that would have started and some that for the future. Now, this one may surprise most of you, but we are looking at Borden's Pond to transform that space into some kind of fishing park, a fishing park facility, a family facility where persons can use that basin as an area where you can do recreational fishing. And not only recreational fishing, there will also be opportunities for persons to set up stalls in that area and kiosks. And those persons will be drawn from the St. Andrew area firstly, where they can set up small stalls in that space, and they can do business there. Now, it may be difficult at this stage to see the vision, just like it was difficult to see the vision for Freedom Square. But I tell you, I toured that area yesterday. I saw the layout of the land, and that area can make a beautiful park in St. Andrew. But it will not just be a normal park, but be a fishing park where families can go and sit down on a jetty and fish with the children, fathers and sons, just like what you would do at the beach. We will be doing that in Borden, St. Andrew. That will be our gift to Barbados. That will be our gift to the people of St. Andrew. I said it at the beginning, I will say it again. St. Andrew is ripe with offering alternate recreational facilities and activities, not only to us in St. Andrew, but to Barbados as a whole. Now let me just mention quickly our crab night. Our crab night that was just completed last week Friday, which in my mind was a very successful and perhaps the biggest and best crab night that we've had thus far. A perfect example of St. Andrew life. And St. Andrew life itself is a brand because we have things that we take for granted that we can package and sell to the rest of Barbados and sell to the rest of the world. Crab night is just one example. I've seen what was just an activity, a community activity. It has been elevated to something that has attracted the attention of the BTMI, has attracted the attention of the Minister of Tourism, has attracted the attention of Barbadians of all walks of life. I saw came down to St. Andrew last Sweet Friday to enjoy what we in St. Andrew take for granted, what we have been doing for years. And that's just one of the things that we have to offer. We also have our cookout experience where we have all forms of outdoor cuisine. You can go into Long Pond, you can fish in the pond, you bring that fish out on the beach and you fry it or you roast it, you prepare it right there on the beach. But we don't have to just restrict it to fish from Long Pond. We can have any kind of outdoor cooking. We can have a whole day where persons who specialize in barbecuing, roasting pig in a box, roasting breadfruit, roasting potato, roasting corn, whatever you can do outdoors, we can have a whole day of that out here because we started that here in St. Andrew. We can package that. We can also offer that to Barbados and to tourists alike because we have those kind of unique experiences here in St. Andrew.
My final point, not crossing that. My final point.
Let me just.
Oh. Can I continue? My final point I'm going to make, right? The Ashby Jordan tutorial farm, which normally, I think Alleyne School used to lease it. It's located on the beginning of St. Simon's, right? It has run into a state of disrepair. The structure, the water facility is still there. The Prime Minister puts a lot of emphasis on food security. We know that, and that's the only way to go. We have to feed ourselves, and as she always said, we have to eat what we grow. And I wonder if this facility out there, the Alleyne School, why the Alleyne School now have come over here, why that cannot use as a training ground for small farmers? Because one of the basic problems we make in Barbados, we allot land to farmers, but yet we take them and throw them at the end. Agriculture is a science. You just can't put a seed in the hole and expect it to grow. They need pesticides, herbicides, boron, magnesium, potassium. As a matter of fact, let's wait for it. They can speak the whole thing on it. And it's quite unfair to take these farmers and throw them in. They are doomed to failure. Within 2 weeks, the grass grows up. You got systemic herbicide. You got Roundup. You got no winter news. You understand? So why can't we use that farm as a training facilities? Even we open it, say one day, a Saturday morning for 2 hours. And tell the youngsters, well, come over there and speak to the tomato man. The tomato man will tell you what to put on fertilizer, what nitrogen, potassium, magnesium to put on.
You speaking between yours, speaking fast and a bad speaker system. I'm picking you up one in every 4 words.
Dear, so
I assume that you said that there is a abandoned farm somewhere down this side?
Yes, the Ashby Jordan Tutorial Farm, which formerly belongs to the Alleyne School.
Fine.
Right.
So the Minister of Agriculture and the Chief Agricultural Officer are here. I know that in the feed program, they also have training and support through the extension officers. But I hope that they have heard you and that they will take under consideration the recommendation and that they will go and visit and see what can be done so that they can increase the number of persons who can benefit from the training as you've recommended.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Okay? I'd like, before you leave, that's why I suspect you're offering yourself too. So before you leave, I would like you to come there next to the minister at the front and go and talk to him and let us get going. And let's be very clear.
No, I'm serious, ma'am.
I'm dead serious too.
Yeah,
you all saw the minister and I came back from the Agri-Investment Conference in Trinidad. We then went to Boa Vista in Brazil.
In Brazil, yes.
I stayed a few hours and left him on with the Chief Agricultural Officer and told them stay on for the extra day and a half. They are an hour and 45 minutes from Barbados, but they are landlocked. They can't get the produce out to the market, even though it's cheap, because they got the benefit of tens of thousands of hectares. When a man tells you 1,000 hectares or 5,000 hectares. You understand? Now we will work with them also to be able not only to get cheaper food for Barbadians, but also to work and develop the agricultural practices. Because with the artificial insemination, they have been doing a lot of work there. They can work with us to get our pork production back up. They will work with us as well to deal with the other aspects of artificial insemination for the other livestock that we've been having difficulties with. Sunday night, 9:30, 10 o'clock, the chief agricultural officer had me walking about in an abattoir, dressed from head to toe in the dark with white all on, because we're trying to see how we can upgrade the Southern Meats abattoir here, because quite frankly, it is out of, I don't even know what to say, out of what, but it needs modernizing. And if Barbados is going to up its game with respect to specialty cuts and meats, we've already brought in a butcher from the UK who came in and did the assessment for us. The report is in, and the Ministry of Agriculture and the Minister have been talking to us about the funding to be able to upgrade and to do the new abattoir and to get the training in an academy of excellence for butchery so that we can have the specialty cuts done in order to service the tourism market and the Barbadian market. The prices are significantly lower than what you would find in North America. The problem is for us to solve the logistics and the transport. And if we can do that, I had a meeting today following up with the Minister of International Transport, who is also here, and she knows and is following up with the airlines to see how, because once you're dealing with perishable items, you can't bring them over land 9-10 hours in Guyana to the Berbice River. That would work for the stuff that is non-perishable. But for the perishable items, we need to find a transport route out. I'm saying all of this to make the point that the world in which we live is changed significantly. And I keep making the point that the new oil is water and food. And we have to get back to a point where we take control of ourselves. The minister, I'm going to ask him to speak to Project Care. That's not like the feed program. The feed program is for farmers who want to go on and to even be able to expand and to do that as a significant way of living. But because of how hard things are, the Ministry of People Empowerment, working with the Ministry of Agriculture, decided that we have to be able to do some things to help Bajans who really catching it, to be able to keep their heads above water. Now, there are some of the people who would come into the training program that you're talking about, because nowadays, many of us grew up, people got to take out stock. I remember growing up, both of my grandparents had rabbits, they had chickens, they had all other kinds of things, every fruit tree you could possibly think of, all kinds of things. Nowadays, I go around the country, and a lot of children don't know anything about raising livestock. A lot of children don't know nothing about rabbits. A lot of children don't know nothing about ducks. A lot of children don't know nothing about other than the fact that you pick up chicken in a supermarket and you eat it. How many young children have ever seen a chicken get killed in this country? You understand? And I remember all of those things vividly as a child. Now we have to find a way, one, of exposing all households to it, but two, created a platform for those who are serious about agriculture. Barbados' constraint is water. We are a water scarce country, one of the 15 most water scarce countries. But in spite of that, Israel, which is also water scarce, has found a way to deal with themselves and to feed themselves and to do all that they have to do. And I believe we can do it too. So that when you hear the government talking over and over, and we're trying to build partnerships with Guyana, with Brazil, with Trinidad, with other countries, it is because we feel that we are looking a gift horse in the face. Every square inch of this land should set out to be productive. I told the people from BADMC, asked Rommel yesterday, Turner's Hall, they got 2 years to get it fully back into proper gear and production. And the same people at Joe's River that doing the bananas how Joe's River now is so productive and producing 40% of the bananas in Barbados. Work with them and bring Turner's Hall back into production. Leave some also then. I have promised the people in Belle Plaine here, the fellas right there by the housing area, they asked yesterday, 2 of the shade houses that coming from Guyana, going down there to them, and Rommel is already talking to the church about having access to the land for the rest of them to use it. Therefore, your idea to be able to have the farming school here in St. Andrew at the bottom is something that we can work with. Santia, as Minister of Education, you were working and did a lot of the work on the Hope project in St. Lucie by Peter Phillips, which we are working on the Chinese to be able to do more formal training and education in agriculture for people. But we have to get away from the fact that we were brought here and that agriculture has the stigma associated, regrettably, with slavery. We now can control our destiny. There is no great civilization that has ever come about without being able to do what?
Feed itself.
To feed itself.
Yeah.
And Barbadians have to come to terms with it. I can talk the country through it, but I'm asking each and every one in here to also do their role and play their part in doing it.
Finally, agriculture is a very lucrative business. There's lots of money to be had. I won't tell you how much money I made, but there's lots of money to be made.
You're smiling, so that means you're making well. Indar? Talk to him, please. Thanks. Yes, sir.
Good night to everybody. A few concerns that I would like to raise. I heard the Deputy Prime Minister say that she ain't hear anybody speak on the...
What's your name, sir?
Ruben Steely. Ruben Steely.
Thank you. You might just have to come a little closer to the mic because we were genuinely having problems hearing you.
Any better now?
Yes, sir. That's better, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I heard the Deputy PM say that she did not hear anybody say anything about the road at Cherry Village that was started yesterday. One concern I have, we're going to have a dust problem. And there's some asthmatics, and their medical bill might escalate. The Water Authority did some work over there 3 weeks ago, and there was a water tank wetting the road every 15 minutes. We did not have that problem while the Water Authority worked out there. I hope we can have something done with the C.O. Williams crew who have started so that we can have that road wet down as regularly as possible. As one.
Thank you, Ruben. I assure you that we will ensure that C.O. Williams does a similar thing, because we understand.
Or a better job. Or a better one.
Even better.
Correct.
Rest assured.
Number 2, you mentioned that there's going to be a housing project on a parcel of land. I saw it partially yesterday and I heard about it yesterday. I feel we have to talk because that land is being used by farmers at the present time. On one hand, we are hearing agriculture is the next best thing for Barbados, feed ourselves. But if you come in now and you put all concrete, where are the farmers going to put their sheep? So I think this can be resolved if we can have a conversation as it relates to where you're going to put the farmers. Because we can't wake up to...
Absolutely, Mr. Seeley. And in fact, Mr. Lord, who isn't here now, but when he spoke yesterday, we talked about doing also housing that would allow for small scale farming at the back of it, because we're conscious that if the density is too high. Remember, you want to talk? Because you can say it better than me. Thanks. We're going to let you come back to the mic, Mr. Seeley, but your broader thing for pasture is what I'm also hearing, and we will also help you find something for that too with the sheep.
Yes, good evening again. The site we were looking at Shori, and in fact, a lot of the other sites that we're looking at in the rural areas of Barbados, we are looking at national housing and somebody doing a slightly different form of subdivision, where we lease some of the land to do something called homesteading, which people can integrate small-scale agriculture or truck farming, horticulture around their houses. We've been rethinking the process, and it doesn't make sense to go into a wider agriculture area, take out 50, 60 lots for residential, and then push the agriculture to a side. So in terms of balancing what it means to agriculture, what food sustainability, in terms of what some of the other persons, what we're looking to coalesce at. One of the perfect areas we're looking at now is the same Shorigat site that we put a band in paper already for an agricultural band, a residential band, and the lots large enough to do small-scale agriculture. So we're looking at that kinds of things. It's going to occasion a change of how we write covenants and things like that, and people also have to adjust how the way they live and what they accept around them. Because some person, when you build your big expensive house, you don't necessarily want your neighbor to have rabbits next to you. You want a dog, a cat, and a parakeet. So we have to look at some of these things that we're doing, and Shuri, we did the preliminary discussions at work today, and we're hoping to get something more threshed out. But we should be able in places like St. Andrew to merge some small-scale agriculture, some medium-scale agriculture back into the lanes. It also helps with the issue of the drainage and the water retention. So we have to look at it a little differently, Prime Minister.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Seeley, you understand? So we will also look, and I'll ask the Chief Agricultural Officer is here, and clearly we'll also need to look and see more about pasture land for those with you with livestock too.
Another concern. There are some farmers in the Overhill. This is to the back of Greenland.
Farmers where?
In the Overhill. We call it the Overhill. This is to the back of Greenland. They need access to water. And they have been told that they would have to run their own main from opposite the Greenland Agriculture Station right up through to where they are.
Okay, let me investigate that. I don't know who told them that, but let us do the site visit and investigate for you. Right now, we have drilling taking place, about to take place in Mount Poyer and also at Beaubrun in St. Lucie in order to be able to amplify the water that is being used up there. So believe you me, the government has spent millions of dollars in the last year, 18 months, trying to get access to water for farmers, and we will continue. So I'm glad that you've raised it. I wasn't aware of it, but I'll ask Water Authority to ask the same people to look and see what opportunities there are for accessing the water there, okay? And if a pipe has to be run, then we'll look at BADMC running the pipe in order to facilitate that, okay?
Because all it needs is a 2-inch main going about 3/4 of the way, and the farmers are willing to connect to that main. And
3/4 of the way is how much distance? No, I mean just roughly, 'cause I don't know the area you're talking about.
About under a quarter mile, less than a quarter mile.
About a quarter mile.
Or less.
So can we agree, Mr. Innes, you're here from BADMC and Water Authority. Rommel, meet with Mr. Innes and Water Authority and go and let us sort it out for the farmers. Okay?
And then there's a water catchment where the old dump was supposed to be.
On the other side there, they took me to that, but I'm not sure why they haven't done that particular pond yet. But the first time I went to Bordens and to Haggett's, they also took me there at Greenland. So I would have to find out why they haven't.
Not that one. They didn't take you to the right one.
Which one then?
There's the one up in there where they got the sanitation trucks parked.
You mean on the other side of the road?
Where the dump was to be.
Yeah, okay, I got
there's
you
a catchment
now.
pond there.
I got you there.
Correct. That
So
can be used. Water's in it.
Okay, so Water Authority, BADMC, go, Rommel, and let us see and try to resolve the issue for you.
Another one.
hope I could score 100%.
Oh, no, I'm taking them off as I come down. I did a few yesterday, but we can take off some more. The fruit trees over at Bruceville, next to the Fun Ranch. Is it possible that that can be leased to a farmer or two who would be willing to look after the trees and then might be able to raise some bees, get into beekeeping in that area? Because out there's bare bush, and you have the mango trees which are unattended. So I don't know how feasible or who we have to speak to get some.
Let us look at it, because right now I am looking to ensure that we can get every square inch of land that is idle back into production. And as we just said, if that means also creating opportunities for Bajan families and Bajans, we're going to do it. The Minister of Agriculture will tell you that I've said to him, look at the lands under BAMC and BADMC and let us get as much of them out to people who are interested in agricultural production. And that's what we're trying to do. So I've made a note of it, and we'll get back to you through Rommel, or I may come back down myself and talk to you. Okay?
Next one.
But thank you. And as it relates to the beekeeping, I want to talk to the country about that too, because we believe that Barbados can move from artisanal honey to commercial. And I am only saying so because there's a bee. You understand? But all jokes aside, honey does not spoil. And there is too much fake honey being sold globally. Barbados is therefore leading a project, Minister Indar Ware and myself, leading a project to be able to increase the production of honey in the region so that the Caribbean can become a global center of excellence for the production of honey. We also believe that a lot of young men and women who otherwise don't want to work for people would be prepared to do this. And the key is getting an offtake, a contract agreement for people to purchase the honey from the people once the honey is produced. So we are at the early stages. A study was done by the FAO, the Food and Agricultural Organization, that looked at how we can do it. The truth is we got the results of the study during COVID, and we're now in the process of being able to execute that so that we can significantly increase the amount of honey production in this country. So your comments are timely. The only reason I'm not telling you yes or no is that if I say yes, I mean it, and if I say no, I mean it. And therefore I want to go and see what we're talking about at Bruceville before the cabinet can sit back and reflect on how we can help you, help the country better, and help your families at the same time. That's fair?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Next one.
You got 4 or 5 more people.
Only two more.
I'm sure you can get 2 more because it's 9:10.
All right, this one.
Okay.
This is in our excitement to get the agriculture going. I see a problem creeping up. The water service or the quality of the water might be compromised. BWA would have to be very strict on the persons who are accessing the water for farming. There are persons who are fertigating their properties. They do not have the necessary water tank or the non-return valve. So whatever residue is left when they're fertigating, that can get into the water system. So we have to pay very close and strict attention to how we let the farmers access to the water that we are getting.
I think, Mr. Halliday, you're listening and paying close attention, and Santia, so they've heard you.
And the final one.
Speak, go ahead.
How many water companies do we have in Barbados?
How many what?
Water companies do we have in Barbados?
Water companies, as in water authority?
People that can sell water.
How you mean?
People who can sell people water.
Well, I don't understand what you mean. 'Cause as far as I know, I got the Barbados Water Authority. agricultural water or for household?
Both.
I don't understand, sir. Right now, I would suggest that you just come straight and talk because you got 5 people behind you.
All right, we have a situation where there's a chap who is selling water to squatters.
If he's selling water to squatters, it means that he ought to be selling water to squatters in Dodds too. Because on what authority is he selling water to squatters, AG? Obviously tapping the water illegally and selling.
I can come to the head table and speak to you all.
So
I won't say any more right now.
All right, well, you don't say no more.
I won't say any more.
No problem.
I just want to be clear in my mind if there are other water companies in Barbados.
No problem. Go ahead.
Hello. Double R, you have the Prime Minister at a disadvantage.
Can we have silence so that we can hear Mr. Halliday, please?
I was saying, Double R, you have the Prime Minister at a disadvantage. You need to declare who you are, first of all. I think if you do that, at least you'll be on an even field. Double R works for us.
Not hearing you or understanding you.
Sorry, I was saying Double R, Reuben Seeley works for the Barbados Water Authority. So much of what he's referencing comes from his daily activities or his daily work. I think you need to at least declare that because then you have the head table at a bit of a disadvantage. With respect to the Greenland area, there's no...
Not a disadvantage. He's helping me.
Okay.
Because he's telling me that somebody is carrying away water and selling it to squatters. So he has helped me, Mr. Halliday.
Yes, please. So, what I would want to ask, is this something that has been reported internally as yet? Speaking.
We can talk one-on-one. It's all right. Because we're not hearing. Mr. Seeley, we heard you. Thank you. And it will be investigated.
No problem.
I appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Good night. My name is Shanice Prescott Henry. My concern is about...
What's the name again?
Shanice Prescott Henry. My concern is about the project for the ELSA, for the houses. I lived in Bright Farm, St. Andrew. When ELSA came, behind us slipped. Me, my boyfriend, and my son. We got moved from there to St. Philip, the Labour College, for 6 months. Got moved from there to KFL for a couple weeks. Moved from there now to Warrels Road, Belle Plaine, St. Andrew. And they were on my foundation since November last year. And they started foundation on them.
You haven't gotten any further?
No further.
No problem. We will do a site visit and find out what's happening. Is it RDC or NHC that dealing with it?
I called National Housing. I was told I have a car rural. I just gonna run around.
No problem. You ain't gonna get no run around no more. I will deal with it. Just, where's my PA? Just have a word and give her your contact number and let me deal with it. But let me also be clear to everyone. The process of doing the houses has been far more difficult because of all kinds of things to do from the supply chain right back through. And regrettably, we are back into the season again. We've finished a number of the houses, but there are still some that have not been finished, and we're trying hard to work to see how many we can get done as quickly as possible.
Yes,
okay?
please. So my only concern is I don't want to move again. I ain't expecting another baby. So
and you want to move back down that side, but
I moved from Grice Hill on my family's land, which is Mount All St. Andrew, so say the lower White Hill. So that's family land. I got my papers and everything. Everything's sorted.
No problem. We can look at it.
Okay, I just wanted to know what was the order or...
We can look at it. What happens is that, as you know, the government, for persons who have lost, those who cannot afford to build back, we build back and enter a lease arrangement with you for 10 years. could you, I don't see my personal assistant, but could you speak to Senior Minister Duguid and let him take the information for me? She's over that side. Just go to her. Okay.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, and good luck. When you due? October 10th? Make it October 1st for me.
Good night. My name is Alleyne Murphy. I'm a resident of Shorey Village in St. Andrew. I have two issues. The first one, for years now, we have been without lighting from the corner of Dublin Village to Greenland. Due to the fact they were saying that the copper was stolen. Now, if you are taking the Bashaba bus to Speightstown, after it gets dark, it is so dark to have to go and stand at the bus stop by Greenland with no lighting, bush around, but yet still, they can't get copper to replace the lighting for us. And this is more now than 14 years, you may as well say. My second issue is this. I am the proud parent of a special needs young adult. My daughter is enrolled in a day program in Black Rock. For 10 consecutive days last term, those children were out of school because Transport Board canceled the bus service. My understanding is this, that when they need a bus to go somewhere and they're short, they would pull that call ride bus for the special needs children. These children cannot take public transportation on their own. You will look at some of them, like my daughter, and you will never know that she's special needs until you try to interact with her. She looks like she is 11 years old, but in reality, she's 20 years old. It is not fair to us parents who are trying to equip these children with daily living skills in the event that something should happen to us parents, to deprive these children from learning a skill or getting a better education. They are entitled to it. They will take the bus and they will send it to the schools where the children don't even want to get on the school bus. In the meantime, our special needs young adults are suffering.
I hear you.
And I am begging and imploring for this coming September.
You don't need to beg, ma'am. You don't need to beg. The Deputy Prime Minister is here, and I think she will make and take the appropriate action at the Transport Board to let them know that the one group of people who we cannot disadvantage are those who can least help themselves.
Please.
And the truth is that in the last 2 weeks we've been talking in education, and I know that Minister Humphrey as well. We're looking to see how we can do. We've set up the commission chaired by Eddie Hinkson, and we really are trying to see how best we can not only help the children, but my dream is to also have a respite facility that will allow parents like yourself to be able to appropriately have the children taken care of for a week or two so that you can get a mental break as well.
Yes.
Because we're conscious and we may have to work with the private sector and philanthropy on it, because we're conscious that it doesn't only put a strain on the national resources, but that family member who has to take care of that child or that person has a tremendous amount of strain. And as I tell you, I know it. I grew up with an aunt who is deaf-mute, who helped take care of us. And none of us could leave the house and leave her alone in the house. So it meant that as teenagers, you had to exercise the discipline, that somebody had to stay at home, and it just couldn't be freedom as you would like. So I hear you fully.
Right.
Santi, I don't know if you want to add to it, or you would just follow up. Huh? But you have the sensitivity from working in education too.
Yeah, PM. Thanks for raising that, because I think We're looking, even when I was the Minister of Education, at a more specialized type bus as well to facilitate those children as well. I think one of the challenges, as you know, depending on where on the spectrum some of the children are, things like noise also affects a number of our kids. And so I think one of the issues now is being able to have enough buses to be able to do that and to have dedicated buses to be able to facilitate it. We've had some discussions about also opening up to the private sector to be able to encourage people to actually get into that as a business as well, so that government alone doesn't have to do all of the facilitation of that type of transportation as well. So I just want to assure you, we've been in those discussions with the CEO of the Transport Board, and I know that they're working with some of the persons within the TAP program as well to try to facilitate getting a different set of buses within the mainstream system for transportation.
I would appreciate that because, ma'am, I have to travel 4 trips. I take my daughter, come back home, then I have to go back and pick her up, come back home, all because I do not have transportation to get her back home. So I can't work. I can't work.
Understood. And you have my word that we're going to follow through on it. As I said, this is an area where I think a society is defined by how it takes care of its people who are most vulnerable. And I feel strongly about that.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Murphy, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Who's next? We're going to ask people to be a little quicker because I see 1, 2, 3. How many people in the line? 4, 5, 6. No, we're going to have to hold a thing and hold a break because I got public officials here who also have to go home. So we're going to finish in 15, 20 minutes in order for those public officials who have come in order for them to leave. Okay? I can stay, but they have to leave.
All right. Good evening. My name is Jillian Downs Alleyne, and I have 2 quick questions. We know that coming into St. Andrew, you have to travel over a bridge. So first question is, do we have someone, any organization within the ministry to check these bridges on a regular basis? Because so many of them have issues. Some of them you can't cross anymore. So I just want to know if that is part of the ministry, someone to constantly check these bridges, especially in St. Andrew, where we have the Scotland District. That's 1. And then 2, in terms of Borden Bridge, which has been dismantled, is it possible for us to have a shuttle that would take you from Borden to St. Simon and Belle Plaine and synchronize it with the bus coming from Turner's Hall? Is that possible for us to do? And lighting, because you have person walking from the T-junction at the end of Rock Hall to Borden, and that's about a mile. There's no lighting, and any person parking there waiting for someone on the bus or anyone walking there needs to be some level of lighting. So those are the issues I have. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for the question. 2 things arising out of that. The first is that both Rommel and I discovered that I think it wasn't since the 1970s that there was a full report on the conditions of bridges in Barbados. And one of the things that we set about to do is obviously to make sure that those bridges were included in the Scotland District Road Rehabilitation Project as well. So there are about 15 or so bridges that are included. That we've identified that will be done within that program when the roads and drainage are also done. But there are also bridges that fall under MTW that will also be included in obviously ongoing works within the St. Andrew area as well.
So will they have someone to constantly check going forward? I mean,
right. So again, I can talk it straight because I only know how to do so. The challenge has been the maintenance and the inspection of the bridges over time. And I can't sit here and tell you otherwise, and I don't think any of the technical people can do that. But what we have recognized is that the condition has also obviously deteriorated to the point where, as you know, many of them are out of commission. And what we want to do is that the ones that are actually not in as bad a condition is to make sure that the areas surrounding those bridges are cleared and cleaned and also that we can get some subcontractors as well out there to be able to start to do the works on these bridges. Now, again, these are areas that require a certain skill set in terms of it's very technical, designs have to be done. It's not just as straightforward as just mixing, concrete and basically going and building bridges. Equally, we've been exploring doing these steel bridges as well. We have one that we've put down that is due to go down at Bordens. But we are exploring those as well, because when we came to the ministry, we discovered that a number of these bridges had initially been treated as temporary bridges. But they were there, they've been working, they've been lasting rather long. And so that may be a temporary solution to be able to assist us in being able to get some of the access points working again. On the level of preventative maintenance, Mr. Trudeau has been tasked with basically working with the depots and again the subcontractors, because that is not work from what we have assessed that can be done solely within the Ministry of Transport. It simply is going to require us to outsource and then to have the ministry being in a position to provide the oversight that is necessary to make sure that the inspections are done and that the work is actually carried out to the standard of the ministry. So I hope that answers your question.
And the second question, the shuttle, in terms of the shuttle, can we coordinate that?
Yeah, I think that's something that we can, I don't think the CEO is here, but so we've noted it, and I will certainly let Dr. Springers follow up with
Thank you.
With us on that.
Thank you, ma'am. Who's next?
Good evening, Sandra Downs. I have 3 quick matters, and I will be very quick. The first one relates to some land at Belle Plaine, immediately beside Ada Costa Everest Primary. That land is still up in the air, hasn't been settled. There are 4 tenants living there. And like 20 years ago, we were told we may have to move, we may have to stay, we may have to move. And there's nothing final. We don't own the land, and we more so feel like squatters than landowners. So can you please tell me...
This is where Belle Plaine?
Right beside St. Andrew's Primary, the pasture that's
St.
adjacent.
Andrew's Primary?
Yes, there are 4 tenants, 2 to the back, 2 to the front, and the land is still not settled. We heard that the government was going to acquire it to extend the school pasture. That hasn't happened. We are still there, but no ownership.
You're aware of it? Okay. We're not aware of it, but if you can come after, I can arrange for a site visit, and we can get to the bottom of it. Up to yesterday, we had one person whose land, for example, in Bruceville, had not been conveyed for 25, 30 years. We're dealing with it now.
And in this instance...
It was you. Yeah, Ruben.
In this instance, we have 2 of the residents who have been there more than 60 years, 60, and they still don't own the land.
And who previously owned the land?
Some Fosters. But the government acquired it compulsorily more than 20 years ago.
So the government owns it?
So we haven't heard anything yet since then.
No problem.
So
We'll
that's
check.
the first, right.
What's your name again?
Sandra Downs.
Sandra Downs. Okay, once again, could I ask you to go to my PA so that we get your contact number and can follow up?
Which is who?
Where is she? She's out there.
Okay.
Okay,
right.
Shanta
Right. And secondly, my second quick point is I have issue with the lack of educational and training opportunities within the parish. And I can stand here boldly and say that the last skills training program we had was like 40 years ago. There's no skill training, no opportunities for development, educationally or otherwise. And I really think it's time that changes. We shouldn't have to go to Spikestown and all other community centers to be able to gain a skill.
And I agree with you, because you have a full school plant that's shut down every afternoon, every weekend, and every vacation. So let us work to see what we can get Barbados Vocational Training Board to do. We already had, I think, the gentleman who spoke earlier, who recommended us doing the agricultural facility for training. And I have leaving St. Andrew with a clear understanding that while we've put the health services in, while we intend to put the police services back in, while we're dealing with the roads and bridges, that the people of St. Andrew also want substantive training and other activities.
Very much so.
We're doing the tourism and the recreational activity. So believe you me, we're trying to make wrong things right that have been there for a long time.
And a community center is crucial towards all of that. My final point, quickly, is that in my view, and I've lived in St. Andrew all my life, in my view, St. Andrew is almost seen as, I see it as the poor relation, the poor cousin, in that what other communities have and expect to have and take for granted, we don't have. And I am almost fed up with the fact that we don't have a functioning community center. Everything closes down, the children's home closed down, the government daycare closed down 30 years ago, the player park is closed down, the police station closed down, the post office is closed down, the welfare department is closed down, everything is closing down or going out. The sand is going out, the shale is going out, and nothing is coming in.
But Andrew,
so ma'am,
we're going through Ms. Downs.
Ma'am, I am asking that in this ecotourism product and project that y'all are looking at, kindly seek to employ St. Andrew residents first.
Hold on, my dear.
And foremost.
My dear.
Yes.
My dear.
I'm listening.
One, this government built back the health center and opened it back up. Two, we have pledged, and up to yesterday, Rommel would tell you, and he said it earlier tonight, that whoever gets the benefit of the ecotourism at Bordens gonna be from where? St. Andrew. And all of the projects that we're trying to do, the shared houses, I spoke to the Minister of Tourism after the MP spoke to me yesterday. I spoke to the Minister of Tourism this afternoon about doing a nature hike and lunch in St. Andrew with using St. Andrew tour guides. We also, and that would be a companion to what we're doing with the agricultural activity at Turner's Hall. So suffice it to say that I hear you, but I don't have, nor does he, nor do you, eyes in the back of our head. So let us go forward and do it. And I really feel that what St. Andrew offers is a unique charm and beauty that is not available all over the country. And therefore, we need to treat it with care, and we need to create the opportunities for St. Andrew people. And you've heard me say that our intention is to bring back people to St. Andrew and St. Joseph and St. John in order to live, rather than everybody heading to town to St. Michael and Christ Church and St. James and St. Philip. Okay? So we are with you, my dear, and hope we can work together to make that a reality over the next 5 to 10 years. Thank you.
Good night, Madam Prime Minister, other members of the team who are here with you. First, ma'am, I want to congratulate you on your successes over the last many months. The Time magazine recognition as one of the most influential women in the world. We want to congratulate you for that. We also want to congratulate you as well for the role you're playing not only on the Caribbean stage, but on the international stage in terms of representing Barbados, representing the Caribbean, and indeed playing a major role in what's going on in the world today. Again, we want to thank you for that, ma'am. I am a proud citizen of St. Andrew. I was born here. All of my formative education in Barbados was acquired right here in Belle Plaine, the boys' school, and then of course here at the Alleyne School before I left to live overseas. I lived.
What's your name, sir?
Dennis Smith.
Dennis
Smith. Mr. Marshall should know that. Dennis Smith. I left Barbados back in 1972, a few years after graduating from here. So I've lived in the United States most of my life. In Washington, D.C., ma'am, and while I was there, I played a major role with the association there, linking with the embassy as president of the organization there, and of course, playing a role for Barbados and Barbadians. I always prayed to God that I would get the opportunity to retire back to Barbados. I prayed every day, and I've been blessed with that opportunity. I've been back now for 12 years, and I'm very proud about that. I'm happy about that, but I'm sad at the same time because it seems like time has passed and left my parish behind. Behind. As I drive across Barbados, I see so many things that make me proud. But when I drive through St. Andrew, what is there to look at? Except for the center, the medical clinic that you just remodeled, there's nothing else. And how can that be when St. Andrew has built this country? Every day from the time I was a child, every day we see sand trucks up and down, about 100 sand trucks a day, taking the wealth of St. Andrew to build Barbados. And what have we gotten back for it? What have we gotten back? What have we gotten back? About 2 months ago, while listening to the debates in the House, I heard Minister Bradshaw say that there are 21 bridges, ma'am, 21 bridges that are in total disrepair in St. Andrew for Mr. Marshall and his constituency. 21 bad bridges in St. Andrew. How are people going to come back down here? How are people going to come back? If I live here now and I have for any reason to go to Cane Garden, ma'am, how do I get to Cane Garden? Do you know? I have to go through Dark Hole, another hellhole, Dark Hole. I have to go way up to the top of St. Joseph. Don't ask me what that place name is, Mr. Marshall. I don't know the individual districts. I've been going too long. But I know I go up there. I have to turn across it at Bloomsbury and then come down Sturgis to get to Cane Garden. Now, when that bridge was closed, we were told, oh, it's going to be closed for a year. Now, in St. Andrew, we know when we hear those things, what they mean, because we've heard it all our lives. Has it been 2 years going on 3 now that bridge at Baxter's is closed? We're not talking about a bypass bridge. We're talking about a real bridge that we can traverse comfortably in and out of St. Andrew. Recently, we had the one at Borden's fall down there. All of us like, oh my God, now how do I get a bridge down now? All the arteries are being shut down one after the other. Well, as Mr. Spring would know, they built us a temporary bypass, but as soon as the rains come in, that's going to be washed away. What efforts are being made to get those 2 bridges back up? What efforts are being made? Okay.
I'm going to let the MP speak, but the technical staff at Public Works are here, as well as the Deputy Prime Minister. But I hope you know that bridges ain't get so overnight.
Of course.
Oh, good. Just want you to know that.
Of course, ma'am. We know that in St. Andrew. Mr. Springer?
Yes, thank you for raising the issue of the bridges. Let me start with Borden's Bridge, because that's the bridge that would have been decommissioned under my watch. Phase 1 of the rebuilding of that bridge has started. That will be survey work, work in terms of preparing, but the actual physical work, the one that we tend to appreciate as work, where construction starts, that will start in about 2 weeks. And it's expected that that bridge should take about 3 months, weather permitting, because we are in the rainy season. We are deep in the rainy season, so weather permitting, that bridge should take about 3 months to complete. All right, so you can expect to have that bridge back in commission by year end.
By year end?
Within 3 months.
Okay. All right. So
we've started that.
Down by the
we've
end
started.
Of the year.
The process has started, and that would also solve some of the issues with the bus service that were raised earlier. Yes, we try to tweak the service as much as possible, but the real solution is the reopening of that bridge, and that's what we are working hard towards. The other bridge on the other side, which would be the Thompson Bridge, we're also working towards that. Now, the bypass road would just be a temporary road while we work on the actual bridge. And we have designs for that bridge, and that is expected to start as soon as possible, as soon as those designs are approved. And I think the DPN would have mentioned that earlier. And as soon as those are approved, we would start on that bridge very soon thereafter. So we're working on the bridges. I know it has been more than a year since the Thompson Bridge was closed, I believe it was closed last year, June. But we've been working to see that at least the one at Baxter's is open at the earliest possible time so we can have that access. The one at Borden, so we can have that access back into St. Andrew. But these things will take time, but we will get them fixed.
In response to what you said, Dr. Springer, again I say, we in St. Andrew know what it's like to hear a bridge is broken down or a road is broken down and it's going to be ready in a week, 3 months, a year. It very rarely happens. We are asking, please, we need our bridges repaired. We've heard a lot in the last many months about a loan from China earmarked for the Scotland district. And I would hope that these bridges in St. Andrew become part of the Scotland district as far as that loan is concerned. I hope that happens. Our post office, we don't have a post office in Andrew. We don't have a post office. We don't have a police station. We don't have a proper playing field area. When I was growing up here in St. Andrew, we had a community center, a real community center. And as young people, we would have pageants. We would have plays. We have singing competition. When I got older myself, I used to sponsor dances there. What do we have? A little thing, 2 old containers were brought and dropped and painted, and that's supposed to represent us as our community center. The other day I drove through St. Joseph, Mr. Marshall. I went through Bathsheba, and on going up the hill and I saw that new center you have, my heart bled for us. I'm proud of you and what you can acquire, but we have nothing here. There is nothing, and every day we are building the whole nation. Every day.
Mr. Smith, stop. Honestly, I don't know how many times to say it.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I don't know how many times to say it. The government is planning out. There are people who wanted stuff before we did the healthcare clinic here. Morris Bayer Clinic in St. Peter needs work. We built the one in St. Andrew before we went there to do the work there. The geriatric hospital and the St. Philip District Hospital needs work. We came here. Trust me, I hear you. But you're asking me and you're asking this government to fix overnight what was destroyed over 2 to 3 decades.
Even longer.
Well, worse still then. So that, give us a chance.
Okay.
You have a new member of parliament.
Right.
Let me finish. You have a new member of parliament who has impressed me considerably with the way in which he has hit the ground. He knows all of the issues on transport. He knows all of the issues with water. He knows all of the social issues. But more important, you know what impressed me? That everybody I see interact with, he know them by name. By name. And he has been making the case. It is he who come and tell us that the church want to use the center and to get the building by Alleyne Canterbury, and that we will probably negotiate with them to get the land in the back so the boys in Belle Plaine and the girls in Belle Plaine can do farming. It is he who come and tell us about the crabbing. It is he, we ain't talk about isolation cricket ground yet. It is he who won isolation cricket ground as the Academy of Excellence for villages for cricket in the world. And it is because of him, you see me here looking at my phone. One of your own residents, Mr. Cummins from Hillaby in St. Andrew, is one of the owners of the Royals in CPL and is trying to see how we can work with Rommel to bring more activity here in St. Andrew, because we are conscious. You heard me say it earlier. We are conscious of the fact that governments, not MPs, but successive governments have ignored the potential. We do not intend to do so. And when you see the community center by Dale or the same health clinic in St. Joseph, it is because for years nothing was done. But we in an IMF program, we forget that. We are in an IMF program. And in spite of that, we are bringing services to the people. All I'm asking you for is patience. Because, believe you me, Santia went in the ministry. How does a report stay dormant? No, let me talk straight. How does a report stay dormant in public works for 50 years on bridges? How? With parishes that suffer from erosion and nobody does anything to put it at the top of the public sector investment program until we come to office and now dealing with it. So I'm saying to you, there are roads that were shut down since independence. And we coming in and we coming after them. So I want you to help me help you.
But that's one of the reasons I came back to Barbados, and that's one of the reasons I'm living in St. Andrew, because I intend to speak up for this parish.
Well,
I'll say something.
Well, you realize that you're not the only one speaking up.
Sure.
Everybody is.
I'll say something though.
You have, luckily, speech is reaching a receptive set of ears.
Yeah.
Left and right. And you have already seen the work that we've started to do. The truth is that it is a long process because by your own admission and my admission, the neglect has been there for the majority of time since independence. I am not going to say that the parish was also penalized for having the first woman MP by beginning to believe it now. And therefore, having the first woman MP, I'm going to make sure as the first woman PM that I do wrong, make things that have been wrong in St. Andrew right. Because quite frankly, I've made the point. This is the essence of the charm of Barbados in this parish. You come now, I come down to Darkhole this evening and I see the issues. But with all due respect, Santia, how much capacity we got in MTW to do that and to do everything else that we're doing? And that's the problem. That is why the Scotland District Rehabilitation Program that was started yesterday with the Chinese, $230 million being dedicated to St. Andrew. Now, I wish the project could have started before, but straight talk, COVID come along, and as you know, you saw what China has done to the whole world. China shut down on the basis of it. So getting the project to where we are today has taken much longer because of COVID. So I give you the assurance you can get done. But I just want us to be patient and to recognize that with the best will in the world, we cannot change in 1 year what took 50 years to destroy or to ignore.
I would say, ma'am, I've heard a lot about the Scotland District Reclamation Project. It would be nice as part of really developing the Scotland District if we could have a highway, a very good road that leads from up on the top of Morgan Lewis, coming right down across the East Coast Road, going across Gags Hill, and open up that part of Barbados, St. Joseph and St. John up to Codrington College, that people can traverse.
We hear you, and I encourage you to have a deep conversation with Rommel and to see what else we can do in terms of opening up. But believe you me, we're going to fix what we have first to satisfy, and then we're also going to look at opening up.
Remember, ma'am, we're looking for our bridges. But I want to compliment you in my conclusion.
No problem. I just worried about the time,
yeah.
And I thank you for your compliments, but you got three people behind you.
In conclusion, I think under your leadership, we have an opportunity in this country to go to heights we haven't gone to in a very long time. We're going to leave in your hand, but we shall be watching you. I thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. And don't forget to speak to Mr. Springer for me on the idea. Yes, ma'am. We're going to finish with these last three persons because we're conscious that the hour is late and we started from 6:30.
Hi, good evening. My name is Grace Rudder Graham. I am from Hopewell in St. Andrew. I live 2 houses away from Miss Bryan, and I too am having problems with my property. I was advised at one point to get a stabilizing wall, but since the hurricane, they had told me I need gear bills. Someone from the Ministry of Transport and Works came and they said I will have to speak to the soil conservation, which I did several times, but they said there's a waiting list. But in the meantime, my house, especially the bathroom, is actually separating. So much so now it is going into the kitchen. The walls, everything is cracked.
We hear you, Ms. Graham.
So.
And I've already indicated that the Deputy Prime Minister is going to come down and do the site visit with her officials and with soil conservation from the Ministry of Agriculture, because clearly the issue is more than one person.
Right.
And we're going to have to treat to it in the same way that we treated to White Hill. Okay?
Thank you. I'm hoping to see someone very soon.
No. Trust me, when I tell you the Deputy Prime Minister is coming.
Okay,
okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Stephanie Boyce, and I want to address an issue that MTW caused. I'm hearing Scotland District slippage and everything, but this is actually a problem that MTW
What's
caused.
your name, sorry?
Stephanie Boyce.
Stephanie Boyce. And you're from where?
Chalky Mount.
Where?
Chalky Mount.
Chalky Mount, too.
December coming will be 2 years that I was contacted from somebody from MTW. The road when you come down Basics, to turn around the corner when you pass the church, apparently was too narrow. And we had a couple of misses in terms of accidents, and actually accidents. So I was contacted and asked if I would be allowed to give some of the land in front of my home so that they can widen the road. And I agreed under the condition that it would have been fixed as soon as possible. December coming out is almost 2 years. I have nieces and nephews who traverse the area. And if you pass by me now, I mean, people are calling me and telling me, but in front of you look ridiculous. The land is actually slipping. It's about 3 feet now away from the house. And I am asking MTW to be proactive instead of reactive and have it done. It is really ridiculous. And I sit and I hear, have patience, it will be done, there are receptive ears. So I'm hoping that this evening, MTW is really having receptive ears and they will come and have it done. The guys, I'm actually having the same issue that Camille is having, and the guys are telling me, but Stephanie, it really looks ridiculous though. I'm saying, don't be telling me it looks ridiculous. I allowed you to take from me so that you can help others in terms of preventing accidents, preventing even death. I allowed that by giving you part of what I had, and now I'm stuck with what is there. It's ridiculous, and I need to have it fixed.
And I will insist, Rommel, go and visit and let us resolve it, because if people came to you 2 years ago and did that and nothing has followed through, I apologize on behalf of the government, because it is not right and it is not fair. And I think the DPM is hearing me too. She's now come in and she's going to try to ensure that we follow up on all of these niggling issues, because it's not fair to citizens. That's why these parish meetings have been called, you know. Because if I didn't call these meetings, y'all would be grumbling, and nothing can get done, and you lose faith in the governance of the country of your birth. Can't happen.
And not only that, you actually feel the house rumbling and trembling now when the big trucks pass and the buses and stuff, because the slippage is going closer and closer to the house. So I would like it fixed as a matter of urgency. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right? It's Chalky Mount, right?
Yeah, Chalky Mount.
Thanks.
Yes, no.
Good evening. Good evening.
Sir.
My name is Sherlock Murray. We've been constantly hearing about erosion.
Your name is what, sir?
Sherlock Murray.
Sherlock Murray.
Yeah.
Continue, sir.
Yeah, we've been constantly hearing about erosion, and it's been going on for too long. One of the things that if you look around you will see, and you can see where it's dealt with, and it should be done or spread right away across the parish. I'd like to draw your attention, if you go up what we will call Credon Hill, you will see 11 palm trees between 80 feet and 100 feet, all the way up in the air. You had Elsa, you had a freak storm, and these palms are probably a good 60 years old, so you would know what kind of weather that they would have experienced. So the first question is, palm trees generally function like BRC and concrete. Those roots stick to the ground and hold the soil together. And that is what we in St. Andrew should be preaching across the parish. So that if a person got difficulty with soil, they plant some palm trees. The other thing is that the annual rainfall in Barbados, is between 45 and 55 inches per year. When the rainfall get at 50 inches, St. Andrew is in trouble. You see a lot of landslides, erosion, that kind of thing. So one of the things that whoever is responsible need to find out, because the Canadians did it many years ago, which tree drink the most water. So if we had an idea of the tree that drink the most water in Barbados, then we could plug them in along with the roots of the trees that I just made mention of, so we could stick them in areas. Now, let me show you where it happened many years ago. If you go over to Sedge Pond, the people who were responsible then planted a series of coconut trees. It is the biggest area of coconut trees in Barbados. And nobody ever hear about soil erosion in Sedge Pond since that time. So we are struggling, trying to figure out how we can deal with these problems when they got plants out there that have roots that can fit in the ground. You just can't plant any and every tree. There's a famous story that one tree in Chalky Mount had 3 landowners. And it's because it moved from this person to that person, all because of landslides. So we need to determine which tree that we can plant in St. Andrew. All going up Chalky Mount, around St. Simon's, those kind of trees should be planted to stabilize the area. It's my belief that the bearfruit tree will drink the most water. And for person who don't know, I have a bearfruit tree and I reach between 5 and 7 harvests a year. It will look like a nuisance, but it is true, because people who just got an individual tree and they pick a one bearfruit and they're dropping all over the place, it becomes like a nuisance. But it is time we plant plantations and bearfruit in Barbados or in St. Andrew, so that we can develop industry from it. And everybody inside here knows there's a multitude of things that you can do with bearfruit. So we are sleeping on a massive business that we can do, and it's all simple in terms of planting some more trees. At the moment, I'm developing a rabbit feed out of bearfruit. So I believe other farmers can do it because it's very simple. It's very simple. Bearfruit, there's no other tree in Barbados that is bear 5-6 times a year, and the fruits, and very often, is between 3 and 5 pounds. There's no other tree. So it's about time that we address St. Andrew from that aspect in terms of planting food that the people can use, and at the same time it helps dealing with soil erosion. Thank you.
Mr. Murray, I want to thank you, but also not only for sharing your knowledge, but I'm conscious that you stood up there patiently. You didn't come to do anything other than to share knowledge and to ask the people at Soil, Ministry of Agriculture, and also Public Works by extension, all of us, to apply our hearts to wisdom and to look at the evidence of where the land is holding and where it is not. So I would like to invite you to meet also the Minister of Agriculture is here, and I keep making the point that local knowledge matters. And he's sitting down over there, and if before you leave you can exchange numbers with him, I would be grateful, and for us to act and investigate much of what you said. Okay? Thank you, sir.
Good night, everyone.
Yes, sir.
Good night to the panel. My name is Desmond Ward, and I live on the East Coast Road. Everybody talk about agriculture. I know we talk about other things, but tonight I want to talk a little about ecotourism and things to help to bring back in live activities and even economic activities in St. Andrew. All right, we're well aware that St. Andrew is a part of the national park. I heard you said earlier that St. Andrew is one of the most beautiful parishes in Ireland, which we all agree. But I also want to know it's being neglected. The thing about it is that even if you look at the rivers can also bring economic activities in terms of ecotourism. The rivers of St. Andrew have been neglected, not only bridges of being clean for years. One, I guess I agree that they never had any equipment, but now the soil/MW have equipment. And I'm hoping now that we will have an annual cleanup of the rivers before the hurricane season. If you look at the East Coast, for example, the debris comes, St. Andrew East Coast is the last artery to the catchment area of the water comes from all over St. Andrew to head to Long Pond. Being at the East Coast Bridge is so narrow in terms of the culverts. When the trees come down, it turns sideways and block the road. But what we would like to do is that on an annual basis before hurricane season, if we can get all the rivers, not only bridges, rivers clean, so that the trees, the old trees, what able to break down, come down to block the East Coast Road. That's one. Two, I want to know what is the government's plan for Belle Plaine area/Long Pond. The area of Long Pond.
The Ministry of Agriculture is now looking at it, and in early discussions, they're about to go and talk to the property owners to see whether there's an interest for them to become involved in aquaculture. So it is too early for us to say, because only today, where's Mr. Innes? He's gone? He's gone? So the Chief Agricultural Officer can tell you that they will be talking to the owners in the area, because we've been advised that there's a lot of potential there, and it is up to the owners to decide if this is an area of activity they want to go in. If it is, it's probably better off for us to form a central company and give everyone shares and to work and see how we can do it. If that doesn't work, then we can look at other things to do with it. But those are one of the options that's been put on the table. Okay?
All right, my pet peeve now. We have an area of the ruins of the train line on the East Coast Road. Yes, it is very, very need of urgent repairs because of the neglect. I'm begging the government, this administration, assist us, the St. Andrew Independence Committee, along with other private persons in the area, to have that area cleaned up, because it's a very fantastic tourist attraction, and it can always also bring revenue for young people, young entrepreneurs in St. Andrew. You'll be able to sell the grapes, the fat porks, the cashews, all those stuff in that area. So we just need to help to get that area spruce up, beautify, so that we can get a nice ecotourism in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Well, you know the process has started. We've been working together for a number of months now to beautify that area, the old train line. We've started the cleanup. We've started the cleanup of the river and the water course on both sides of the road. That has started. So everything you just described there, you just mentioned, we have already started the process. And we have brought on the BTMI. They toured the area with us. You were there, and we spoke about having that area turn into some kind of park and those ruins preserved. Because yes, there may be still aspects of the old train line in other parishes, but I think that where that one is located makes it perfect as a tourist attraction. And not only in terms of its heritage tourism, but I think as wellness tourism is concerned, when you come to that area and you sit amongst those ruins and you just look at the surrounding hills and the rock formations, it relaxes the mind, it soothes the soul. I have been there with you on numerous occasions. I see the tour buses, they come and they stop there and they just vibe that natural beauty that we have right there so in Belle Plaine. And I know that I've spoken to the tourism minister, I've spoken to BTMI, and we will work together to ensure that place is properly preserved and properly developed as a point in St. Andrew that would benefit not only the tourists, but for all of us in St. Andrew who would like to use that space as a recreational space. So that's something you can look forward to. And that's just part of, and let me just wind down, because I don't want to come here and don't speak about the mega project that is the Walkers Reserve. We have a wonderful, just excuse the PM, she's just stepping away. She'll be back shortly. We have a wonderful project right here in our backyards, and a lot of people in St. Andrew do not know about it as yet. We have agro-tourism, we have ecotourism, we have a facility that speaks to climate change. All of that happening right here in St. Andrew, aquaculture, everything. And that is one of the areas where I believe we can start the groundwork in building out our ecotourism product. We cannot talk about ecotourism in St. Andrew without talking about the Walkers Reserve. And I can speak with passion about that facility because I know the gentleman who owns and operates it. I know he's a friend of St. Andrew and has supported all aspects of St. Andrew life. And as far as employment, I know the question was raised earlier about creating employment for St. Andrew. And yes, the government would do their part, but yes, the private sector will also have a part to play. And I think Mr. McNeil has been playing a part in employing St. Andrew people for years. And for what I'm told, when that project is fully developed, that project can employ up to 100 persons, most of whom will come from right here in St. Andrew. But I just want persons to take advantage, St. Andrew people, take advantage of what is right here in your back door right now. Go down to Walkers Reserve, see it for yourselves, see some of the work that's being done down there, see some of the sites, get some education, some awareness in sustainable living. These are the things that we can build on and we can package, as I said earlier, and sell to the rest of Barbados. There's no place else in Barbados, there's no place else in the Caribbean that can produce what we have down there at Walkers Reserve. And as we transition from the sand quarry to ecotourism site, we can see how that would benefit this entire community. So we have started and we will continue. And I know the Prime Minister have mentioned earlier the Isolation Cricket Ground. Most iconic cricket ground in all of Barbados, second to none. And I believe that also has tremendous potential in terms of a tourism product, a product that could generate funds, a revenue for this community. That's why I'm going to, as I said, speak to the BTMI, speak to the Barbados Cricket Association, speak to Mr. Cummins, speak to whoever I have to speak to ensure that there's some kind of tournament that will emanate from that facility. I don't see why every team, every cricket team that comes to Barbados, whether it be regional or international, should come to Isolation Cavaliers Cricket Ground and play cricket there. In fact, for years I've been seeing touring teams come there. But we need to structure something right here in St. Andrew that will encourage teams from right across the Caribbean, right across the cricketing world, to come to Barbados, to come to St. Andrew, and to play cricket here. And I'm sure that will augur well for the entire St. Andrew community. But those are just some of the things that we have to offer. And yes, we continue to offer. That's what we do. We give to Barbados. We give them sand, and now we're going to give them recreational facilities that are second to none. We are well poised for hiking. We have the best biking routes and trails and all such like. We have them right here in St. Andrew. We have the best views. If you go to Cherry Tree Hill, yes, it leads into St. Peter, but the majority of it is still in St. Andrew. You can have the most beautiful view of the East Coast anywhere to be found in Barbados. And that is what St. Andrew is all about. St. Andrew life, St. Andrew terrain, St. Andrew geography is unique and second to none anywhere. So I want all those persons who have already started the process of beautifying St. Andrew, those persons who have started the process of bringing awareness to what we have in St. Andrew. And I want to just to harken back quickly to our crab night, because this is something that we have given to Barbados that I believe that we can scale up and we can build out a festival right here in Belplain that would rival the Oystins Festival in Christchurch. We need that kind of facility. We need that, something like that in the north of Barbados, and there's no place better than Belplain for a festival. And we already have all the raw material. We already have the skill set. We already have the people. And we already have, all we need is the will to build it out and create it so that it will benefit St. Andrew. St. Andrew is, I said this is our season. I said that last year when we opened the outpatient clinic. This is our season, and good things come to those who wait. We've been waiting for a long time, and now we want to see the good things, but we have to make those good things, because those good things will emanate from us, and I want a lot of these things to be organic. They already are organic, but it's up to us to build it out. So I know that the hour is late, and some of you are at this stage where you're looking to go home. I don't want to end the event before Prime Minister returns, but I think I've said enough as it relates to what we are willing to do here in St. Andrew. We are a unique parish. We are a unique group of people in Barbados. And I would say that to anyone. I've come down here and I've experienced what a life that I believe that can be branded. But it's up to us to build it out. Yes, sir.
Good night, everyone. My name is Timothy Maynard, PS in the Ministry of Housing, Lands and Maintenance. Before you close,
Timothy Maynard?
Sorry about that. Timothy Maynard, Ministry of Housing, Lands and Maintenance. Just wanted to give a quick update on the post office. It's my ministry that's responsible for building and repairing that post office. We've already done extensive work on that post office, and I can give the assurance here that we should complete those works within the next 8 weeks.
Thank you very much. Okay. Just to say, as we close tonight, I want to thank the people for St. Andrew for coming out. I want to give you the assurance, believe you me, that we've heard you. But even before we've heard you, we've started the process. That is why when others said don't build back an outpatient clinic in St. Andrew, we ignored and built it back. That is why we've insisted that St. Andrew has to be integrated into the ecotourism product and heritage tourism product of Barbados. And in fact, the Minister of Tourism, and I'm sure Rommel spoke to it with the old railway project. We heard about the Bordens project earlier. You heard about the isolation cricket ground project. You know about the crab lines that the crab nights that Rommel and them have been doing, and that they want to include others across the country. You've heard that water has returned to White Hill. You've heard that we are working on stabilizing and getting the program going, and Santa can report to you. We haven't come to St. Andrew promising a road rehabilitation program. We have come to St. Andrew tonight with a $230 million road rehabilitation program for the Scotland District having started. This government is intent on ensuring that there's fairness and equity across all parishes in this country. But we cannot do what was done in 40, 50 years in 1 year. And I'm not going to fool anybody. I feel your frustration. We're going to work with you. the public education and the public sensitization program that has to take place as to what can be permitted with the soil structures that St. Andrew has is going to be critical. And for too long, we have just allowed people to go ahead. People should really go to town planning in some instances. In many instances, they haven't. But we need to advise people that what they're doing is putting their money at risk if they go and build in certain places without the appropriate planning or without the appropriate engineering advice. We are going to work with you to make that information commonly known. We will also share with you what you can do to protect yourselves and to protect the investment in those circumstances. And secondly, we've heard the MP tonight ask for a Scotland District revolving fund for those houses and homeowners who need to be able to put in septic tanks or other things. And I give you the assurance that I will work with the Attorney General and the Ministry of Finance to see how quickly we can put that kind of revolving fund in place that will allow people, one, to buy water tanks, and two, to be able to deal with septic tanks, so to deal with water and wastewater access. And through the Water Authority in a special fund, or we use another mechanism, depends on the advice that the technicians give us when we go back. So my friends, I know that we've come out and that you have engaged. In fact, this is the latest one we've had in the series, but it is clear that we needed to listen to people and to engage with people, and we've done that tonight. And I look forward to continuing to work with you and your Member of Parliament, as well as all of the officials. The soil conservation people know I have a special interest at Haggett's, and I intend to make sure that that is done and taken care of in a way that benefits the people of St. Andrew, and the shade farming and the agricultural activity that Rommel has asked for, we will also seek to deliver. So good night, God bless, and let us work together to make St. Andrew better and stronger and capable of seeing more people wanting to live back in the parish of their birth or to come and join the people of St. Andrew in a beautiful parish in the country. Thank you and God bless. And thank you to the public officials who have stayed late as well. We don't take it for granted. Thank you very much, all of you.